처음 챔피언십을 만났을 땐 지혜가 있었죠. 그 다음엔 여러 명이 거쳐갔지만 이 자리를 지킨다는 건 아마도 거부할 수 없는 나만의 매력? 피파 고모가 되기까지 쉽지 않았어요. 끝없는 자기 관리가 중요하죠. 피파 온라인 3 챔피언십 놓치지 않을 거예요. EA 스포츠 피파 온라인 3 아디다스 챔피언십 2016이에요.
할 수 있다고 말하면서 정작 저는 할 수 있을까라고 정말 걱정 많이 했었는데 이미 에버는 본인들 확실하게 이름값 증명했습니다. 결국 우승팀은 ESC 에버로 정해집니다. 감사합니다. ESC 에버.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Coca-Cola Zero League of Legends Champions Korea Summer 2016. My name is Reed Rapid Melton. With me once again is Nicholas L.S. de Cesare, and we are getting back underway with Week 2. Now bringing you guys tonight a matchup between the very, very dominant Jin Air Green Wings taking on, as you can see there on your screen right now, ESC Ever. That's Esports Connected, their sponsor, and then Ever, the team name, with some very strong players, and both teams with incredibly strong performances coming out of Week 1.
Yeah, and I mean, this matchup is going to be really fascinating. ESC Ever having a really superior just team fighting playstyle, very coordinated, really just, you know, everything comes together for them, and they also have the insurance policy of their late game. But Jin Air last week with a monstrous dominating performance in 2 games, fielding a 15.25 KDA to 1.
Yeah, almost as dominating as their fans. The whole Jin Air fan club is here tonight to celebrate Kuzan's birthdays. So do want to wish him a happy birthday. They brought us out some raps earlier on. It was super cool. But let's talk about something that's even cooler, and that is their performance 2-0 over Longzhou a little bit earlier on. Longzhou really struggling and just got absolutely dominated. Not quite a perfect game in Game 1, but a 0-9 loss to Jin Air. And then their second series is like 14 cores, just incredibly strong. So coming into this, Jin Air, obviously the more proven, the more experienced team. You know, back when we had Jin Air Stealth was so good, it just continued to be very, very dominant, and could have made a really good run at the playoffs last season, but we're narrowly stopped by a very strong SK Telecom Team 1. They're pretty good, so.
Absolutely. I mean, most teams would get stopped by SKT, so I don't think that that's really indicative of how far they could have taken it. Definitely could have taken it certainly a lot further, and I'm really curious to see Ever, who is, they came in, they're very new to LCK, and they are like a dark horse in this tournament, but skill-wise, I think they stack up with the higher tier teams, so I think this matchup is going to be really good.
Absolutely. I was reading a FOMOS interview last week that had the coaches rank the different teams in LCK, and pretty much everyone put Ever in the sort of the mid-tier as dark horses with momentum, looking to overtake some of the established teams here in LCK this season. So looking forward to tonight's games. Strong, established Jin Air Green Wings taking on the upstarts in Ever, and now you can see our beautiful faces. You'll be seeing the players' beautiful faces here in just a little bit, and it's just going to be some good games tonight. Ever are looking super hot, but it's hard to argue against the domination that Jin Air showed in Week 1.
Right. And we're just going to get into the game in just a second here, and I'm really wondering if Pilot is going to be able to put on as dominating of a performance that he did last week against Loken and Key.
I mean, if they want to keep giving him, I think they gave him Sivir and Lucian last week. He's pretty good at the champions. The champions themselves are pretty good, so sounds like a recipe for success to me. Also really strong, I think Winged got an MVP performance for his game 1, so that was pretty dominating. Super big fan of Winged ever since he played over in Brazil, so if you guys remember from seeing him on Keyd Stars, it was a good time to be Winged, and now equally strong coming back to Korea. And speaking of coming back, sort of the prodigal son in the top lane, Trace, who kind of left the team and then came back to the team, so also doing very well, putting up some solid performances. So nice to see a very solid Jin Air, but I think all of the hype, the excitement is really around Ever as a new team to LCK, full of young upstart talent. See what they can put together tonight versus Jin Air.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Key is going to draw bans this week against his Bard.
I'll give you guys a hint. Key's Bard, I believe, in their first series versus CJ, went a combined 1, 4, and 18. So turns out the guy's pretty good at that champion. Had a few missed ults, but just absolutely dominant. So excited and ready to get into game number 1, which should be coming your way on your screen here in just a minute.
Here we go.
Still on patch 6.10, patch 6.11 actually coming out next couple of days, so it's not going to be too long until you guys are playing that in solo queue. We're on patch 6.10, that's what you guys are playing on right now. First ban's coming out, it's going to be a ban on Twisted Fate. Definitely going to take that one away from Blanc, who I think he actually had
He played it last week, actually, and he ended up piloting it, no pun intended, to high success against Coco's Victor, so definitely a Twisted Fate ban.
And we've seen some ups and downs from Twisted Fate. Mickey played it yesterday, got completely controlled, never able to be effective. Not the same situation for Blanc. So nice to see him here. Another champion that might come out here is Varus. We've seen a lot of good performances from him. Tempt really put up some good numbers there in his first series versus CJ. So looking for that, maybe a niche ban, but definitely taking that Bard out of the mix. So that's the ban that we were really looking for in Italy. No surprise there.
And Rek'Sai rounding out the bans. So Jin Air with 2 very specific target bans, targeting Bless and targeting Key's Bard, taking them off of potentially their most comfortable picks.
So ESC Ever locked in Ryze first. Ryze has been 100% pick and ban, definitely right on top of the pick table, but Winged actually going back to his Elise. He played Elise in both games. Actually, no, he played Rek'Sai in both games yesterday, but Elise was his most played champion last season, so nice to see him on a comfort pick.
Yeah, and Lucian getting picked up right away, so there's no surprise there coming out of Pilot.
I think we just talked about how good Pilot is on Lucian, so already some harbingers there for Jin Air Green Wings. I'll bring over a Karma. What role would Karma fit into this comp?
I guess Karma would fit into the support role, and she would just be used as a speed boost, further enabling Ryze and whoever they elect to pick as the mid laner. However, if you do pick Karma in the support role, yeah, I was just about to say, you really need to round it out with an AD jungler and potentially even harder carrying AD support champion. Stacking AP isn't always the best idea.
A lot of ability power. It's going to get just switched over, and that is a... all right. I thought it was actually going to be switched over to a Rek'Sai, but instead, we're going to see we haven't seen in... I'm trying to think the last time I saw him play played professionally? It's been a while.
Yeah, Kajix was the champion I was actually talking about last week, that we could expect to see him come back as a 6.10, 6.11 jungler, or, you know, anytime in the near future. Primarily because double AP compositions were heavily coming back because the champion pools that were occurring in mid and top lane. So if you need an AD jungler to look to, with Rengar being crippled, Kajix is definitely just someone that fills that role.
Now, it's interesting to see the Kazakhs pick into Elise. Elise does traditionally very well because her spiderlings keep her from being isolated if you ever fight 1v1 in the jungle. But we've all had those games where Kazakhs just goes completely nuts and kind of kills everyone. But that should be a jungle Kazakhs, right? No crazy mid lane shenanigans.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a mid lane Kajix. I'm really curious to see actually who the mid laner is going to be. I'm wondering if Loken's just actually going to pick up the Sivir to have the Karma Sivir comp.
This comp has been very popular. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Jin Air actually ran a Sivir Karma in Game 1 versus Longzhu last week. So both teams have had some experience with it. There's that Varus we were talking about.
So the team composition for Ever, let's see if they lock these two picks in. There's a Tristana being highlighted by Loken, and that's a champion that we haven't seen in a little bit. So there's a lot of AD coming out of this team, and that can be a little bit problematic when you have an assassin Kajix on your team.
I mean, we saw Braum locked in, a good champion against all of that AD, lots of damage reduction, but 0-4, totally winless in LCK so far this season, and a little bit surprising there. It's going to be combined with Pilot's Lucian Braum, the Brombo combo. Nice to see that together for Jin Air, but look at that comp from ESC Ever. Some picks that you wouldn't necessarily put at the top of the tier list.
Right, and honestly, these compositions aren't making me feel too easy. I feel like Ever is actually quite behind in the pick ban. Their last two picks, rounding it out with the Varus and the Tristana, I think is truthfully a little bit questionable. And I think that Jin Air's response at all steps along the way was spectacular. And I think that they just completely outdrafted them so far, so we're going to have to see what the game holds in store for us.
This kind of reminds me a little bit of that Rocks Tigers comp in their first game of the season, where they picked Aurelion Sol and Swain. You're just like, wait a second. We haven't seen those guys for a while. Same thing with Kha'Zix and Tristana coming back. Not sort of the holy trinity of AD carries, but still something very exciting to watch. We're going to be loading into game number 1. About to get underway. ESC Ever versus the Jin Air Green Wings here in LCK Summer 2016. Hope you guys are ready. Let's go ahead and count things down. We should be loading into the game here in just a second. And I just cannot wait to see Ever, young upstarts, new to LCK, facing a very, very well-established roster in the Jin Air Green Wings. So your starting lineups on your screens right now. Crazy, Blessed Tempt, Loken, and Totoro. I think it says Totoro there, but on the other side, Trace, Winged, Blanc, Pilot, and Shay. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into game number 1, ESC Ever versus Jin Air Green Wings. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Summoner's Rift is where we're at, and we are at the Nexon Arena in Seoul, South Korea. So if you guys want to come down and witness yourself some mighty fine League of Legends, LS, it's a good place to be. Promise never to do that accent again. Don't worry. You can see the disgusted look on Ellis's face. You wouldn't want it either. But let's go ahead and talk about League of Legends. Some interesting picks here for ESC. What are both teams really going for as objectives with these team comps?
Well, the win conditions for ESC is just going to be continuously keep accelerating. Now, that is a little bit bizarre when you have two tier lane champions inside of Ryzen Varus, where generally you're looking at a huge mid-game wake-up, which is going to occur between around the 22 to 26 minute mark, so that looks around the second Dragon and potential Baron attempts. But there's problems with the team composition. Now, they also have scaling inside of Tristana, but the Kajix doesn't really make too much sense, and it doesn't look like they're going to... Oh, no, they will initiate a lane swap. This is actually something I was curious if they were going to do, because Karma is so powerful in the lane swaps because of her early mantra Qs. Really can just shove out the opposing top laner. and then your top laner can get a lead. But Jin Air, it all steps of the way. All they really have to do is prevent themselves from getting caught out by any shenanigans, and I think that their team fighting in the late game is going to be really difficult for ESC ever to really work around.
Now, we expected the Bard ban, but it's actually Totoro playing, not Key. I haven't actually seen a whole lot of Totoro's games, but he is definitely dueling it up there, coming up to the top lane. Some extra damage down on Winged. Take some Spiderling gold along with him, so maybe worth it, maybe not, but very fast wave clear coming out here from ESC ever.
Yeah, very interesting starts coming out of both teams here. Elise is actually considerably behind right now. Kajix is going to have a 2-level advantage, and when Kajix has that kind of an advantage, it's going to be really difficult for Elise to apply pressure early on.
All right, well, talking about pressure, we've got some interesting jungle shenanigans. Now, this is patch 6.10, so jungle experience is only given to the guy that actually kills the camp. How does that change what ESC Ever are doing here? What are they doing to adapt to that?
Ever's not really doing anything too different. I think that all the play coming out of Karma right now is relatively standard. If Azir was misstepping in mid lane and Kajix ended up getting level 3 or something, they could certainly apply pressure to Azir and potentially even get a flash out of him. And if that ends up being the case, then Kajix can actually play East-centric River, regardless of if Elise is there or not, just because of how inherently stronger he would be. And then ESC is actually going to come out ahead in the rotational trades.
Some nice trades in the mid lane. Both mid laners pretty low health, mana. Going to be some struggles happening there, but some very non-interactive side lanes just going for these early turret takedowns. Who does that really favor with these early turrets going down?
Well, the one thing that's curious is, again, we're seeing this sort of rotation that I've talked about time and time again, where teams don't seem to fully understand it, where the Dragon is technically available and there's rotations that could be done in order to prevent it. But, however, the speed of Tristana's ability to raise towers is proving to be quite quick, so it doesn't look like they're going to be able to actually respond with the Dragon because of how quick that is.
Some interesting stats that just showed up there on your screen comparing the carries. It actually shows that very similar damage per minute, but a higher KDA, much higher there for ESC Ever. So interested to see how well that impacts this game as it does draw out. Nothing too crazy, but the stat that actually throws me off is the jungle stat. When you look at that 20-7, I'm not sure if that's CS is totally accurate, but that's not a whole lot for Winged, who is not only a level behind quite a bit of CS.
Yeah, Wing being behind isn't necessarily too bad as long as he can match Kajix's ganks. Because of the team compositions, Kajix doesn't have too much utility in mid lane, and his utility in top lane is able to certainly be worked around, given that Ryze is nowhere near level 6 yet. So nothing's going to happen yet. However, Ryze has been basically given the option to just go into that tier soon, and Varus already has his tier, so everything is turning out actually really well for Ever. And they clearly knew the speed at which they could raise the top tower so that Jin Air would actually be incapable of responding with a Dragon, which is the correct punishment to that early game rotation.
Now, this is an Ocean Drake. That is our first Dragon that's out there available for both teams. Not necessarily as great as it used to be. It only gives you out-of-combat regeneration, so if you haven't been hit by a champion or a turret, you're going to get some health and mana back. You have to take it first, so we'll see which 3 Dragons appear on Summoner's Rift this game. Always a little bit interesting to see how that changes the way that teams play. But, not a whole lot happening. Who's ahead at this point? I mean, it's only 5 minutes and 30 seconds, but it looks like Bless is trying to make things happen. Just hasn't been able to so far.
Yeah, even though the gold value, like you're saying, Bless isn't really able to make anything happen, but he doesn't have to because the map is making stuff happen. Elise is inherently just under a lot of pressure right now. You see the Sightstone coming out from Wing. Whoa. So it's just like he's saying, okay, I'm going to take this beating from you right now. And
He's going to take the loss, take one for the team, and go with a Sightstone. That'll help everybody out. I feel like this is something that you would never see in solo queue, because you always just finish the jungle item first because you're greedy for experience and gold, so you want more of that. But both junglers actually prioritizing other things besides their jungle item, going for Sightstone on Wing, and of course that Tiamat already completed for Bless.
So now, like you were just saying, the Tiamat already being completed on Kajix basically shows that he wants to just keep going, and he wants to make sure that Elise has no ability to breathe life into any of her lanes. So if the lanes keep going the way that they're going, this is basically what ESC wanted. So it's interesting that Kajix is basically being used to tame Elise rather than try to make anything happen early on, but then it really begs to question why wasn't this some other champion like Elise Sin that could have applied and asserted even more pressure and more dominance than Kajix can offer. And then also, actually, I think, given the team compositions, would have been a little bit more useful in the late game.
Yeah, especially Lee Sin, because Tempest Cripple just like destroys the Spiderlings, which is a lot of at least his early game damage. So interesting to see the champion choices. I guess with the Sightstone first, you're not really looking to really fight too many people early on with that buy. So Wings is just kind of playing safe. A lot of wards being thrown out. Will be scouted out by a ward that he'll be able to clear that razor sharp buff. And off goes double golems while Bless continuing his Jungle Mayhem will hand this second blue buff off to Tempt, and fantastically even lanes, just 5-10 CS here and there, nothing too crazy going on just yet. I guess that'd be better forever because of the scaling, right?
Well, I think the timing of the blue buff that you just mentioned was handed off to Tempt. I think it's really important to mention how Azir is needing a recall relatively soon, so if the blue buff can remain on Tempt, and the fact that Trace is also going to need a recall soon because he's been sitting on those two items for a while, it opens up a window for Bless, given that he will play Eccentric after this ganker attempted a gank in top lane, which opens up Dragon possibilities.
Now playing Eccentric, maybe talk a little bit more about what we should expect from that.
Well, Eccentric and West-centric just refers to the river. If you're on the west side of the river, then you're playing West-centric, which means that if you're Kajix, you're on your blue side jungle and you're paying attention more so to mid lane and Rise. Playing East-centric, then you're prioritizing your vision on to Dragon, bot lane, and also still Varus.
Great ward. You can see that Sidestone already paying off. Completely scouting Blessed out as he roams up towards the top lane. Maybe looking to play Trace-centric and be a big fan of that top lane. I feel like that's what happens whenever I play top lane. It's like, what lane you gonna gank? Top lane. All the time. And you can see he's still just chilling up there, Blessed. Completely non-interactive. Both teams just kind of chilling out. I don't think we've even had gank attempts this game, so not the most exciting, but about to heat up. Possibly Tempt was walking into the danger zone. Yeah, he is actually gonna flash the Shurima Shuffle. Nice attempt there by Blanc, but a good reaction from Tempt.
Yeah, and if that Shurima Shuffle would have hit, it might have spelled Doomsday, because Winged, I think, definitely was in position to flash Cocoon, and Varus definitely would not have made it out of that. Also, interestingly enough, Varus having teleport again. We saw Tempt run that last week on Varus, so that is definitely an interesting summoner spell.
Yeah, nice to see the cleanse there from Blanc, so he's not going to be really too vulnerable from just getting ulted there by Varus and taken down. Also helps against the Rise Prison later on in the game when Crazy's running all up on you. You got to be able to get away from that. So, like we said, a little bit of a passive early game, but what should be the first thing that really causes these two teams to butt heads? Is it going to be that Ocean Drake, or are they just going to go for big roams and look for early mid-game pressure?
It's probably going to be the Ocean Drake, whether it's going to be ESC ever responding to Janair's attempt at taking it, or, well, hold that thought. It looks like there's probably, I guess maybe they're not going to take it. So this is actually really interesting that they're just conceding Ocean Drake, given how valuable it is to their team composition. So not too sure what their thought process is right now.
Especially with a really comparatively strong jungler, not a whole lot going on there. The Ocean Drake, number one, will go to Janair and will herald the spawning of our first Mountain Drake for this game. It'll be up in just about 6 minutes.
And now Azir is going to be recalling. Tempt, though, not with a recall. However, off of his recall, he'll probably end up completing the Monomune, which is going to be absolutely pivotal in the mid-game team fights that probably we can expect to see the first one breaking out around 15 to 16 minutes, because that's when all teams are going to be very near completing their first core item and, moving on to their second one. And not too much is really going to happen. However, it is going to be in time to prepare for the Dragon.
Oh, nice ward there by Crazy. It's like, wait a second, where'd Trace go? He's in that bush still, and a little bit of extra damage being put down there. Trace maybe overextending to try to bait Crazy forward. He does know both his support and jungler are there. You think Jennair's going to commit to this dive? Doesn't look like it. Everybody's backing away for further objectives. Trace, he's like, hey guys, come gank my lane. Shay's like, all right, man. He sits in that bush for like, what, a minute and a half, and recalls. So.
Yeah, I think that what Trace was actually trying to do there was really smart. I think he was trying to actually purposely take a bad trade so that maybe Crazy would feel a little bit more comfortable and then possibly commit to trying to go for an all-in. But because of the warding that has come out of Totoro, on the right-hand side of the map, they probably knew that Elise had no business being on the right-hand side. There's no Dragon, there's no way to do anything in bot lane, so where else could she be rather than top? So Crazy not taking the bait.
All right, well, we do have a, once again, continued just recalls, farming things up there. It looks like Temp's probably lost a little bit of CS there at turret with that recall, but he does have teleport up, so he's choosing to save that, not use that just for just to get back to lane and get some of that CS.
Alrighty here. Now, Kajix keeps moving on top of all the wards, and this is the stuff that I was talking about where he just doesn't fit in terms of synergy with the top and mid laners, so it's like, I don't really know what he's doing. So even though Tempt and Crazy are getting exactly what they want, and so is Tristana, it really just begs to question that it feels like they're going to have an Achilles heel when it comes to the team fights in the late game.
Top lane, Trace actually will get the stun on a Crazy. This is going to be a good trade for him. Turns it right back around. He actually will still win the trade, but coming up towards top lane, here is Buzz. Walks right into a Cocoon, winning with so much damage. Buzz trying to get away, does have that level 6, so he's going to be Void assaulting himself. Not Void assaulting anyone else. He is out of there, but great Cocoon there. Wing just completely read him like a book.
Yeah, and that was an excellent counter gank by Elise right there. And again, this is what we talked about just a few moments ago, that all Winged really needs to do is match the Kajix ganks, and as long as she continues to do that, she'll actually crawl herself further and further ahead. And now it looks like they're taking a Herald, so very opportunistic timing being captured by Jennair, and that's just really impressive to see.
Yeah, like you said, getting not only herself ahead, but her team ahead, and Rift Herald buff just so incredibly pivotal. Damage, everything you could ever need. Helps you push up that wave, and Trace will be the recipient there to continue to win top lane matchup. So interesting to see that, Trace is playing so far forward. He does have a lot of wards now, but previously he didn't have a turret. That was one of the first ones to go down, so interesting to see that Bless has been the best friend of every ward that Jennair can place down, which is a testament to Winged's early sidestone and all of Che's roaming. Has really kept him out of the game so far.
And now you see them preparing for the Dragon, but it's still 2 minutes out, so don't expect anything to happen until...
As you say that, Trace waiting around the mid lane. Temp pushing forward a little bit, but nothing happening. All right.
Yeah, and I just don't think they can commit to that there. They know that Tempt has Flash, and it would require Blanc to use all of his summoner spells in order to really commit onto that trade, and that's just not something that Trace wants to be doing without Flash.
What's that? Bless on a ward again? Takes his double golems, or his double Krugs, rather. Oh, and there is the... Oh, okay, wow. Oh, I was so scared. It was a good snipe from Temp, but did not get the steal Reno. He is still blue buffless, but he did get one earlier on, so just kind of evening there.
Yep. And now there's really not too much to do for the next few moments, so it really just feels like, if you're watching the game, you wonder, what more can each team do? And honestly, they're both doing what they need to do and what they want to do, as boring as it may seem for some viewers, but there's not really anything that can be said until the next Dragon comes up.
Yeah, 40 seconds, so teams starting to get in position. Jennair in position first for the first Dragon, and of course first for the second Dragon as well. We have some decent ward coverage in the area, but still need to sweep that pit out. Bless, once again, on a ward. So he is he's just chilling up there with the Scuttle Crab, takes that one down. He has been farming like a monster. Same thing for pretty much everyone in this game. 16 minutes, and we already have both mid laners a little bit ahead of the curve. Bless in there for a quick steal on some Raptors. He walks back with his own double helping popcorn chicken.
Yeah, and I think that Wings play this game in terms of the ward coverage, and to give credit to Che as well, has been absolutely phenomenal, and their patience and not, willingness to try to force anything or go over aggressive or over eager at any point has been really nice to watch so far.
Pink ward in the pit there for Jin Air Green Wings. They will be able to hold dominance over that area. Che, you can see waiting, poised. Jin Air looking for a possible trap here. I don't think ESC ever are really going to fall for anything too crazy. See what they can make happen. A flash for a flash. Totoro getting out of there.
And now with the dragon being threatened, you can see Trace is trying to apply a lot of pressure to Ryze in top lane, so there's no teleport that's able to necessarily come out. But the problem that Jin Air is going to have in a second here is trying to encroach onto Ever because of the Varus. They're not yet at that point in the game where they're tanking enough to really just keep handling his assault.
Bless does jump out, is tagged there by the Winter's Bite. Interesting to see Jin Air kind of establish all that pink ward coverage and then just give it all up again. But now, Loken, don't do it. Oh my gosh, right into the cocoon. And that's the way to give first blood to Jin Air Green Wings.
Yeah, I don't really know what Loken was doing there. He had to be aware that that's actually just too dangerous. There was no ward coverage in the tri-brush, and even if he walks that way, it doesn't really do anything because you're not going to walk into River. You don't want to walk behind Red, so really, what are you doing?
This is why you don't let your teeny tiny toddlers watch League of Legends. Then they'll be super afraid of the dark, face checking into monsters under their bed. Never want to do that. It's kind of exactly what Loken just did there, and he's going to take a little bit of time to respawn. He's back up, but that dragon is back down. Second dragon of the game there to Jin Air, and another blue buff over to Tempt. I guess ESC Ever pretty content to just continue playing this game out slowly but surely. We'll see if second time's the charm here. Winged and Pilot still waiting in that bush. Can they land this cocoon? Oh, just a narrow reveal there on Pilot. You showed for just a second. And there's the ward, yeah. Fooled me once, shame on me. Fooled me twice. Well, he's gonna ward, so he doesn't get fooled again.
Yeah, and I just don't know what ESC is gonna do, so they're supposed to have a pretty big wake-up coming in a few moments here, and honestly, I think that is still their way out is their team fighting and the fact that they are about to have a giant wake-up. And if you're unfamiliar with what wake-up means, that means that basically a relatively big power spike that occurs at a certain point in the game. So Varus didn't complete Monomune also, so that is going to mean that he's going to slow down on his Mirror Mana. So he's going to have a little bit slower
Teleport coming down to the bottom lane. Loken will jump out, but he's jumping right into the parallel convergence, just barely avoids getting stunned. Totoro, yeah, he is going to be my neighbor to the fountain there for a little bit longer. No flash available, still down from earlier, and he is not going to last much longer. Nice jump away. Second time missed there by Blanc on his Shurima Shuffle. Unless walking right back around, right into a cocoon. Can't really do anything right there. You can see that's a lack of isolation, just no damage on the wing. I think that's the second or third time this game he's just caught Bless completely out of position.
Yeah, and basically, Jin Air Green Wings is basically playing with map hacks this entire game, so I don't really know what to say about this, and it just feels like that they're also having questionable teleports that we just saw a few moments ago. Loken keeps getting caught out, and as did Totoro there.
Oh, Bless might be the one caught out here. He's looking for a red buff takedown. Can he take this one in time? Yep, gets the smite. Gets the jump out as well. Attempting a little bit of a rough spot. There's that Maw of Malmortius popped, and yeah, pop goes the Maw. But not the Varus, so he's going to get out alive. Did have to blow Flash there and still almost died, so a little bit shaky here as we round the 20-minute mark. ESC Ever haven't given anything super major over just yet.
Wow.
So what's next for both these teams? I mean, Jin Air kind of in the driver's seat so far. Is that something that's going to be able to give them a good enough advantage to pick up some bigger ones later on? Or is ESC Ever just kind of chilling out here waiting for their big wake-up call?
Well, the problem right now is it feels like Jin Air is the one that is vastly more confident in everything that they seem to be doing, and everything is going right for them that game. And if you're a professional player, that makes you feel a lot better, which definitely can help with your momentum in the game.
Bless going in, trying to get that isolation damage down. It does choke out Blank a little bit. Great angle there on the leap, so he was getting extra damage done, but he's not jumping straight into the middle of the team, committing too much. Just a little bit of a love tap.
So, interestingly enough, the gold values are really close, only separated by an 800 difference. And normally, that would be the benefiting ESC ever, given the fact that the Varus, Tristana, and the Ryze. However, because of that Achilles heel that we talked about inside of the Kha'Zix, it really just begs to question what is going to happen around 30 to 34 minutes if they can't make anything happen in the next 4 minutes or so. And that Kha'Zix is going to end up being basically negative gold value for his team, so the gold value will be extremely misleading.
That's true, so you can't really just look at the big numbers up there on your screen and tell the whole story. It's a little bit deeper than that. Both junglers around the mid lane, but no one really going too aggressive or anything. So we've seen the first 2 turrets go down and then not a whole lot. And really no contest over the dragon, hardly at all. There's a couple early kills, a couple early dragons for Jin Air, but looks like about a minute and a half until the next one will spawn here. So I guess what's next? We're going to see some more Stardew Valley.
Well, what we're seeing right now is Tristana is going to attempt to threaten bot lane, and we see Bless coming in here, so we might even see... Oh,
nice Zanya's Hourglass there, winged there just for the zone. Oh my gosh, that poke on a block, so strong. And did Crazy... Okay, yeah, Crazy just walking up there for the flank, but not really in position to make that happen. Strong push up the top lane, and that's actually going to be a turret taken down. No resistance there. Looks like we are going to see the turret countered out on the bottom lane, but that second tier for first tier, I guess it's just going to be a 1 for 2, but can Jin Air Green Wings push quickly enough? Trace looking to maybe go over the wall there, but kind of got to get back to your base, guys. Jin Air Green Wings pushing through a tier 2 and a base turret. We'll take down 4 turrets all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Yeah, as I was about to say, it looked like Jin Air Green Wings was going to go for a 2-tower push, and I felt like that was very obvious.
Let's go around the side. You can't flank with the Kha'Zix, but here comes Tent onto that ward up on the top half of the map there. Crazy actually going in right onto Pilot. Pilot does get Rune Prism up, and there's the snipe from Tent. Taking him down. Crazy still on the chase, but not for too long. Jin Air disengaging. No more poke to land. That snipe from what's it? Yeah, it was Tempt. Able to grab that kill, but the inhibitor under fire, guys. You got to protect the base.
Yeah, and now it looks like they are going to go capture a dragon. It is going to be an Inferno Dragon, which is exactly what Ever needs. So it looks like ESC Ever tapping into a little bit of Hearthstone right now. They're definitely getting their RNG, and the Elemental Dragon will spawn next. So they actually just got 2 perfect dragon spawns back to back, assuming they can capture the next one as well. So right now, however, the important thing is, so Ryze and Varus are about to wake up really big. And after that team fight concludes, if they can't do enough with it, and then Baron starts to enter the play, Jin Air Green Wings, if they can capture that Baron with a top lane inhibitor exposed, means that there could be a death push.
ESC Ever still new to LCK, but definitely held their own against CJ. Now here against Jin Air, like you mentioned, Jin Air much more confident. They've got the experience. They've been in LCK for as long as I can remember, and for ESC Ever, they definitely have had to prove quite a bit coming in here to these early rounds. So first boss out of the way, Totoro, that's supposed to go the other way. But trying to wave this out, save their turret for now. Leash on Shave, not for long. Crazy's teleport is up along with Trace's, so flanks are a real possibility, something to worry about. You see Bless, they're clearing out wards. He's been so good at standing on them all game long. Crazy walking forward. Is he going to get sent out there? Just barely skirts that event horizon. Or not event horizon. It's no Vagar. It's a parallel convergence. But no Bless. Second time this game. Face checking. Not... I guess that is a strong point for ESC Ever. They're pretty good for that, but definitely want to keep yourself warded up.
Yeah, Bless has been a blessing for Jin Air this game. always constantly being seen, and it feels like his movements for the last few moments, though, have been a little bit panicky because it seems like he's trying to make something happen.
Cocoon lands there on to Crazy. Crazy pretty strong, though, so you don't want to pick a fight with that guy just yet. Got some backup. Trace does have backup there in Winged, but not enough to keep Jin Air from taking that red buff away. Or is there? Nice roam down from Totoro. Red buff is not fully healed up yet. Jin Air still on the contest. There's a pink ward in that brush, but it does look like ESC Ever will put just enough pressure on to secure that red buff for Loken.
And now it looks like Jin Air wants to fight, and they need to do this before Rise completes Seraph's Embrace, because once that item comes out, it is a completely different champion. And not just Rise also, but Varus, and it looks like that timing is going to be now. Let's see if Varus ends up picking up that item. And he doesn't. Oh, it looks like he just can't quite afford it yet. So there's
close.
still a timing window for Jin Air where they can, and Rise as well, you see the needlessly large rod. So there is still a very thin timing before ESC just gets this absolutely insane wake up right before a Baron fight would be expected to occur, or even the next Dragon. And so if Jin Air does want to fight or make anything happen before those times come to, fruition, they need to do it now.
300 CS just hit there in the mid lane, farming like a monster. Blank. Definitely deserving. I think he just hit rank 1 in solo queue. I think he's actually rank 2 right now under Crush. So teleport here from Trace. No, just kidding. no teleport there for Crazy. Crazy is on the chase for Trace. He's not going to be able to catch him just yet. Trace in a little bit of an interesting position there. Nice a job catching out Jay in the mid lane. We have another fight there as Trace tries to run away. Does not want to fight that Bless Crazy combo. Blank there for the zone as he tries to come down. Poke back and forth. Trace low, but so is Bless. No harm, no foul. Both teams just backing away. No kills just yet. Crazy. Definitely living up to his name as he continues to go forward. His name used to be Crazy Play, so he's trying to make some of those this game.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. There seemed to be just a complete lapse of thought that just occurred as we saw Loken he channeled a little bit of his wild turtle and jumped a little too far forward and then instantly flashing back. So
like, wait a second, I don't want to be here.
But also on top of that, it looked like Crazy and Bless were not on the same page because you saw Rise's face when Bless initiated the jump onto Echo, and they just weren't on the same page. So there was a little delay in DPS.
Got to coordinate that, especially when you just have these tiny seconds forever. Here's like Jin Air Green Wings. They're not really leaving it up to the tiny seconds. They're having great ward control. Winged and Shay have been on top of that all game long, really limiting Bless's effectiveness and forcing ESC into several face checks that have given away all 3 of those kills so far this game. So we talked about both previous Dragons, 1 minute until the next one.
Oh, there it is. There's the wake up. Muramana and Seraph's Embrace coming out for Varus and Rise. This Dragon is going to be Ever's wake up call for the game. And I don't know if Jin Air is ready to fight this because the damage just got absolutely insane forever.
Inferno Drake as well there, just absolutely incredibly powerful. You're at 30 minutes into the game. Jin Air, though, they do look like the ones ready to pounce as they wait in that pink warded bush. Shay looks like he's going to go for a little bit of a magical journey, not barred, still going for one. Here comes Crazy. Wait, what? Okay, Blank. Kind of drawing a blank there. Crazy's like, hey man, I dodged it. And his team's like, you literally just did so. But, all right, so once again, no hard, no foul. It's like, just kidding, guys. Backing off, no Azir ult for a few more minutes.
Yeah, so now all that basically needs to happen for ESC is they just need to take a team fight at this next Dragon. And it looks like they want to tell Jin Air, hey, if you want that Dragon, we're going to go for Baron. And they definitely have the damage to do it with that Kha'Zix and that Tristana and Varus.
I mean, it's just an Ocean Drake. I feel like getting Baron for Ocean Drake is a pretty good trade. Nice pressure there. Wing walking forward. Nice dodge there on the Cocoon. Loken not getting locked up quite so easily. Like I said, big power spikes there for the tier users. Still waiting on the next big one for Tristana, sitting on 2.5 items. That last whisper still in there, but now rotating down here for this Dragon. ESC in a decent spot. Cocoon lands onto Totoro. but not taking too much damage. A little bit above half HP, and ESC Ever backing off for now.
Yeah, and it just looks like they're posturing a little bit, and this is a huge macro rotation by ESC Ever. When they back this far down into the river, you can easily just have Echo or someone be mid lane right now, and you can keep posturing with them while simultaneously...
Dragon very low. Parallel convergence in the cocoon just barely misses. Bless might actually go in for this one. Dragon is going to go down. It's smote away by Winged. Bless stealth in the pit. There is the Karma speed up for everyone. ESC Ever trying to make the plays happen. Some poke in there from Tempt, but not a lot. We'll see if ESC Ever can make this rotation work in their favor. They do have a big minion wave down here, and now it's their turn to look to push into the base. Big minion wave top lane as well. Nice rotation here for Ever. Was that worth giving up the Dragon?
This is honestly a little bit peculiar. They do have the Tristana, so their ability to raise towers relatively quickly is there, but honestly, Azir could have held that tier 3 turret by himself, so if you would have basically just responded with a threat onto mid that also is simultaneously attacking the top inhibitor and threatening vision control over Baron, so macro mistakes from both teams coming out.
Great wave management, though, by ESC Ever, able to control both top lane and bottom lane, get them both pushing in while they siege that dragon, and no, Bless, not again! So heartbreaking here. ESC Ever playing very well strategically on the rotations, but just keep face checking over and over again. And that's a dead jungler for 40 seconds at 30 minutes into the game. Sooner or later, that's going to give up this Baron, and it looks like it might actually be sooner as Jin Air Green Wings do start that off. ESC Ever in a very retracted position here. You see Loken and Totoro kind of finally scouting them out, but it's too late. That's Baron buff off of one pick on to Bless. Jin Air Green Wings pick it up at 32 minutes.
Yep, and I think that is probably going to be the nail in the coffin unless ESC Ever can channel their inner team fighting skills, which in the past have saved them so many times against absolutely monster teams in the past, most notably SKT1, where they pulled off one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive, defense into comeback in the history of League of Legends.
Yeah, it turns out when your back's up against the wall, sometimes you're able to fight your way out of it. Certainly getting more and more difficult here for the Jin Air Green Wings. They do have a lot of regeneration out of combat thanks to those two Drakes. And the next one will be Elder Dragon, if I am not mistaken. So looking forward to seeing that guy out here at the 35-minute mark. It does finally spawn. Still, though, that 8% damage increase is just going to get stronger and stronger as more and more damage gets piled up here. And I mean, the scaling is pretty ridiculous from ESC Ever. Is there a point in the game, LS, where they can, you know, scale their way out of the deficit they put themselves in?
Well, the scaling is impressive, but the problem with it is that the team composition, due to the jungler component and the support component, really just falls off. And Varus right now, because you have a top lane inhibitor exposed, you don't really have the ability to split push with him, and you also can't send Ryze because he doesn't do it quick enough, nor does he really threaten enough. So it's like they're just forced into just sitting here and turtling their tier 2 and tier 3 towers until Elder Dragon comes up, because that's their only out remaining.
Yeah, and the tier turret going down, and with that 6th turret finally falling, that does represent all but one of the outer turrets taken down by the Jin Air Green Wings. Nice poke there by Tempt, but just not enough to keep these turrets alive. Crazy in the bottom lane versus Trace, but I don't think he's too worried about that right now. Plus Guardian Angel completed there. It's going to be almost impossible to kill that Echo. Almost possible to defend this top lane push. No base turret here, keep in mind. That was taken down earlier, and Winged and the rest of Jin Air kind of leading the charge there in the base onto this inhibitor. Tempt a little bit far forward, takes some Azir stand soldier damage. The inhibitor very low there. Is a nice cleanse by Shay, but still locking down Wing. He is very far forward, taking a lot of poke damage there as well. Inhibitor still alive. Bless going in, jumping back. Inhibitor alive for just a little bit longer. Poke damage is there, but the inhibitor is not. Taken down at 35 minutes by the Jin Air Green Wings.
Yeah, and this is the problem that we're seeing, is where Kha'Zix really just doesn't offer anything, and Jin Air showing their patience and showing that they have absolutely no problems waiting for that Elder Dragon, which we can see coming up in 2 minutes here. And this is the point in the game that I was talking about where ESC Ever had a huge opening and a huge window to really make something happening off the Seraph's Embrace, off the Muramana, and now that window has passed. And so the crux of the team comp is really now starting to come out, and even though they have all these scaling champions, they also have these anti-scaling champions because of the team comp that they're trying to run into. You can't run into Azir, you can't run into Echo, and Echo...
I beg to differ. ESC has been running into just about everything this game. Right into the bushes.
Yeah, and bless no stranger to running into things.
Definitely not.
But it's really, really difficult for Ever to actually jump into that team. And when you have the range of Azir and you can just easily protect Azir from all the threats that are coming out, it also simultaneously negates Tristana.
Slow and steady winning the race here, just methodical pushing. That's the marks the expiry of the Baron buff, but I'd love to see the gold shift over the course of that Baron. The Baron power play must be like 6k gold at this point. So many turrets going down. I mean, 7 to 4 in turrets, and those 4 were taken like all at once, and now looking to spawn even more turrets with that Azir turret being spawned. Jin Air, no more Baron buff. Should make this wave a little bit easier to clear, but do ESC Ever want to go for it? Recall here for Crazy. Both he and Tempt have teleport available. See if they can make this happen. Are there any good flank wards? It looks like, yes, there is one there right off to the side, but it would be very easy to spot out.
There is a flank ward, but what we're talking about is also, you have to acknowledge that Azir with the Shurima Tower makes it very easy to defend. And then also, you don't really have too many situations where normally a scaling comp is expected to be behind in gold, and that still means that they are either ahead or even. But in this case, they're behind in gold. They're actually even further behind, again, because of the comp that Jin Air has.
Excellent cleanse there by Pilot. Once again, I think that's the second time he's gotten hit by that Bear Assault, yeah, and not taken down. I often kind of wonder, because we're sitting right beside the Korean casters. Captain Jack is casting for us. I wonder if he calls those split-second cleanses, like, if he names them after himself, too.
Jack cleanse?
I mean, they're pretty good. And Pilot's been showing off that, taking away those chains of corruption. Elder Dragon, though, about to go down. It will go over the Jin Air. Green Wing's not stolen away there. Some great attempts by Tempt to steal things this game, but not a very good thief there. He's not a devious Raccoonus, so not able to take that one away, and that is pretty much everything Jin Air could have wanted. They've got the burn damage on 3 dragons, so very, very strong. They had the previous Baron, and it's respawning in less than a minute and a half.
Yeah, and they just keep getting further and further ahead, and at this rate, Bless is going to need a priest after this game, because this is just not going well for him at all. And I just honestly don't know what they could do. I think that the next item Elise could end up actually getting to just basically finalize this is she could actually round it out with a Guardian Angel, and even Lucian too, although we see that he doesn't really have any item slots for that. So just completing the Scimitar will probably be enough for him, and I expect they're just going to walk over them in the next team fight.
The theme that we've seen this season so far, only a couple weeks in, but it's been confidence. Longzhu struggling, very, a team that has had lots of advantages, but just not confident enough to push them. Jin Air very confident, and that definitely showed in their series when they matched up earlier on this week. Now Jin Air pushing through up the mid lane. A nice Bear's ultimate off the side, Crazy and Trace, and a little bit of a trade. Crazy winning that one out. Mid-tier turrets staying alive for a little bit longer. Man, Crazy is just all about trying to make something happen, but it hasn't happened just yet.
Yeah, and looks like they're just gonna, just stall in front of this tower and just prevent any minion waves from really coming out onto the map, and they're just gonna wait for that Baron, and then using the Elder Dragon buff, they're just gonna shred that down in just a few seconds, and then we'll probably end up seeing the final push.
Oh, calling in there, half health Tempt, that Dragon Burn, just incredible, and now some free damage onto the turret, which will burn as well. So pushing forward, the next wave incoming. Loken walks right into it. Azir Sand Soldier takes over half of his health and damage, bouncing away, and that is going to signal most likely the second inhibitor going down. Crazy and Bless both want to walk forward, make something happen, but very methodical, very confident push up the mid lane.
And notice what they're doing. They could have probably tried to take a team fight right there and go for the coin flip, and even if it's a 60-40 or a 70-30% chance that you will win the fight and win the game there, why take that? You can easily just go to Baron and you can make it a 95-5 or something. And that just keep suffocating your opponent, just hang them.
the longer this game goes on, the more scared I get, because we've all seen those games that are totally lost until you're, oh, by the way, 40-minute Tristana just gets a pentakill in a team fight where the team just forgets to focus her. But this time around, Generic Green Wings, like you mentioned, playing it as carefully and methodically as possible. Oh, wait, what? Baron got aggroed there somehow. Was that? Bears didn't aggro that, did he? Teleport, though, coming in. ESC Ever will back out, disengage successfully.
Ping coming down onto the top lane. I'm not sure if there's a super minion there. We're about to see. No, but there are 2 cannon minions which are aggroing it, so it will take a while to die, but that doesn't seem to be.
Half health. This could be do or die for ESC Ever. Crazy trying to go in. Some nice poke coming in from Tempt, as he does catch Blanc a little bit there, but just the decision to try to capitalize on this push up top wave. Nice job there by ESC Ever to push Jin Air off of that Baron.
I'm a little questionable about how they were able to do that. Baron was at 3,000 HP, probably losing around 1,500 or 1,800 a second, so when you factor in Smite, I feel like they could have easily burst it. Also, considering that Wing had the level advantage over Bless, which is going to give him the stronger Smite, and Bless really hasn't done anything this game, and he's AD Kha'Zix, so if he does go in, he's dying.
All right, over the wall, Blank dealing the damage there. Baron down back to about half HP, and you talked about how fast it was going to be done last time. There's the late Smite, but still a Baron secured. Baron number 2 for the Jin Air Green Wings.
Now they're just going to use the mid, or the mid lane is pushing with super minions, so they're going to enable that to add pressure, and then they're just going to use the top lane minions to, empower with Baron buff and keep moving down top lane. Now, the only problem is Trace doesn't have teleport, so he can't be in bot lane while this is happening, but there's really no reason to. As long as you can dodge the Varus Spears, you're going to probably be fine.
Yeah, Tempt has been putting out a lot of nice poke damage. Misses that Varus ult, and that is absolutely huge. Now the Baron damage here onto this inhibitor is super, super strong. That will be Pilot. Taking it out, looking a little bit low. There's a nice culling onto Totoro. Puts him down pretty low. And one of my favorite 90s games, the final fight is about to happen.
Doesn't look like they can do it.
Want to make it happen. They're just like, how many advantages can they stack on top of each other over and over again? They had 2 Barons, 1 Elder Dragon, they've taken 2 inhibitors, and they want more.
Well, this is what I was talking about earlier, is ESC Ever has this habit of, always appearing like they're going to die, and somehow they fight their way out of it every single time. And we've seen it against TSM, we've seen it against SKT. We even saw it a little bit last week, although they weren't this far behind at any point in the game. Their team fighting is still one of the best in the world.
I mean, look at the items starting to come out from both these teams. Just absolutely stacked for Generic Green Wings. I'm pretty sure they're 6-slotted for the most part. Not a whole lot of items left to buy. Maybe some more on Shay, but he's already got Randuin's Omen and a Locket, so that is a lot of bling. He is fully accessorized, looking fabulous. I don't know, man. Frozen Heart on a Winged. I don't see that item too much.
Yeah, well, the Frozen Heart on Frozen Heart on Winged is basically going to be really good because it's going to make Kha'Zix's ability to duel with her significantly weaker. And then on top of that, if Elise can actually get up next to Tristana.
Going to land on Bless. Wing with the Zhonya's, though. He's not in a great spot. He's going to actually flash back away. Wing in a little bit of a rough spot. The turret will fall. Jin Air pushing forward. This could be the 3rd and final inhibitor about to go down. Blank. Wing very, very low, though, so I feel like if Jin Air are consistent, they'll just say, all right, we tried, let's just go back. But it looks like their pushing is persistent. This on that Shay ult, this walk forward, has that unbreakable. Whoa, Bless going in a little bit too far. Does get stunned out there at the end. Block is going to get sniped down by Temp. And look at that damage. Logan put it out onto Trace. This is a late game Tristana. Without a lot of DPS. There's an Ignite down there onto Trace, so he actually can't heal up very much. There's the Zhonya's. He is inside his own parallel conversions. He gets taken down, but he does have that Guardian Angel. In the meantime, Bless actually trying to defend against lots of super minions. That last snipe there by Tempt, MVP of that fight. Just takes out Blank and Trace. Keeps Ever alive in this game.
And all I can think of right now is, are they going to do it again? Are they going to come back from the 3 inhibitors again? And we saw that team fighting, their team fighting is just absolutely absolutely impressive. And
This snipe attempt is actually ridiculous. The second time he's done that this game. He's just like, I want to put one right there. He's going to help Crazy take that one down. Azir positioning, very questionable. We're going to get back into the game because we've got even more happenings now. ESC Ever have turned the tables, and now they're the ones taking turrets.
Dragon coming up now in 2 minutes. Baron's still not on the horizon yet, but Ever is back in the game considering Echo is now without item.
Oh man. Speaking of butts, did you know a butt is 108 imperial gallons? LS. You know what an imperial gallon is?
No.
It's about 1.2 gallons. The imperial measurement scale is basically like the oldest measurement scale ever. They measure weight in stones, like actual stones, and height in hands, like actual hands for horses. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if you want to measure a barrel of wine, you do it in butts.
Thank you for blessing me with that crazy fact. You've really tempted me.
Well, I mean, it's more of a blessing than bless has been for ESC Ever. 0-2-0 so far, and a desperate segue out of that conversation into a defense on this middle inhibitor.
Yeah, ESC Ever now playing Lord of the Rings cosplay in mid lane, trying to
Not letting
defend.
them pass.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, at least it's not a oh man, okay, whoa, tempt. He's had MVP performances where he just landed those clutch snipes, but now Totoro is going to be forced to use his ultimate just to disengage. Trey's taking a little bit of damage. He's going to take that Thunder Lords as an invitation to retreat. Tempt can't even go back and heal right now because he's needed to get this poke damage down. There's parallel convergence. Tracer signaling that he might want to go forward. Loken positioning very, very aggressively. Cocoon does hit him, but it's not in a dangerous spot. And the inhibitor stays alive for just a little bit longer. Now, Super Minions are pushing in through the top and bottom inhibitors. That middle lane inhibitor will go down once again. Crazy, look to see if maybe he can land a Rune Prism.
And, well, with the top lane inhibitor coming back up, it still is not yet 7v5, but Dragon is up now, and those super minions coming in from bot lane are still going to apply pressure given that there is only one turret remaining for the Nexus here.
Well, continuing to get lower and lower. He's down below half HP, way back there. Tempt poking things out there. How many times do these inhibitors have to go down? I think we've seen like 5, 6 inhibitor kills. It's getting up there. I mean, sooner or later, there's going to be Dragon and Baron up at the same time in about 40 seconds. So at that point, maybe Jin Air can stack those up. But I mean, this is...
These inhibitors are like Kenny from South Park. They just actually just keep dying and coming back.
Yeah, I keep seeing them die, and I'm like, all right, it's finally dead. But as we all learned yesterday, a couple days ago, what is dead may never die. So we'll see how long those inhibitors can keep making that saying true. Elder Dragon, number 2, 15,000 hit points on that guy. Pretty ridiculous. He putting up a pretty good fight. Just kidding. Turns out 5 Fed champions are pretty good at killing off dragons. Elder Dragon number 2, signaling that this is a fight Jin Air wanting to take. Can ESC ever escape alive in time? Speaking of in time, Trace, they're able to get inside his own parallel convergence. So attempt a little bit of a rough spot. ESC zoned out of their own base. Don't have enough time to recall, so just forced to jump and thump and get their way out of there. Less trying to snag everything he can. And
Looks like we're about to have the final endgame fight here. This Baron is do or die because right now ESC Ever is basically put into an ultimatum where they can either fight the Baron and potentially lose the game, or they can not fight the Baron, give up the Baron, and also potentially lose the game. So it's not really too good of a spot to be in, you know?
When I was growing up, I thought ultimatum was pronounced ultimato. I really hated it because it was a vegetable. Actually approved. And that is going to be Baron taken down there at the 50-minute mark. Can they find a fight here? Totoro using his ultimate from the mantra to disengage from that. That's Elder Dragon, and that's Baron, and this could be the end of the game here. We've got final late game builds here, a little bit questionable out there. Crazy does pop his ultimate to get away from there, but that'll be up in a couple seconds. ESC Ever, do or die, man. They've defended inside their base for what feels like forever.
This is definitely a long defense here, and it's always actually really fun to see because this requires a very heavy amount of patience and discipline to not crack, not overextend, not just get impulsive and feel like I've had enough.
ESC ever using that white raw logic, you build your base and then you defense it. You see how long they can defend. That's that Banshee's Veil pop for Trace. Nice culling there, forcing out, well, I guess the culling didn't force the plans. Loken going to be able to get out of there. A lot of damage here from this Tristana. Che actually getting chunked down. Bless, though, he's the one that loses most of the health, and that inhibitor is out of there. Parallel convergence zoning forward. Generic Green was pushed through. There's only one Nexus turret surviving. A whole lot of super minions looking to come to the party.
Yeah, and it looks like they might just go for the tower here, or they're just going to rotate down, and they continue to play it safe. This is so impressive to actually see in a professional game.
500 damage crits coming out there. Loken, yeah, he's going to have all the damage he needs. Now, cannot get out of there with the QSS. Che walking forward is going to be disengaging. Bless, though, will actually jump forward just for a little bit of a slow. Going to continue that wing very low, Pilot very low, Trace a little bit low there himself. There's block, force the Zarnias. He is underneath his own Azir turret over. That's not going to matter, and it's going to be Temp taking down that Azir once again. Che extremely low, and the Jin Air Green Wings backing off. Did they get enough with that push, LS?
I don't think they did, and I think Ever continues to crawl their way back into the game. Now, it is 7v5, and if you're unfamiliar with that terminology, if all 3 inhibitors are down and you're spawning 2 super minions per wave, it is considered that the game is 7 players versus 5. So right now, they're still not out of the woods yet. Oh no, I'm sorry, the bottom inhibitor is
Yeah, it actually did
up.
stay alive. They actually did not focus that down there at the end. More snipes, just a highlight reel here for Tempt. If ESC ever win this game, Tempt's going to be my MVP, because look at this damage he's putting down there. The jump forward there underneath the turret, and perfectly charged arrow, sniping him down there at the end. And you can see in our picture-in-picture, ESC ever continuing to push that mid lane, where we will rejoin them at 52 minutes into the game.
Honestly, right now, Kodjax needs to sell that Quicksilver Sash and just get a Guardian Angel so that Bless can be a little bit more loose and liberal with his jumps into the team fights. And then on top of that, if he does have a Guardian Angel, he can then use that as actual CC, where if he jumps into a team fight, they can't just start to just burst him down, because that'll mean that their champions stop moving, which gives Rise and Loken and Tempt and Karma the ability to get into the team fight.
Oh man, this game is absolutely nuts. It's gone from a 1-4 to a 4-4 off of nothing but base defense. I've never seen one Inferno Drake get more mileage than this. Just so much damage for ESC ever. And we've seen, what, 2 Barons for Jin Air, 2 Elder Dragons for Jin Air. I think we're at like 6 or 7 inhibitors going down by now, and the game continues, much like the base. Just keeps on running.
And honestly, if Jin Air makes one misstep and Tristana is alive...
Oh my gosh, I just fully clenched through every single one of these fights. Red buff looks like it will be the battle. Smote away there. Not going to have that very powerful buff on Loken. Taken away there by Wing. He's coming around the corner as he comes. Totoro might get pinched against that wall, but nope. Makes it out with a little bit of a speed shield. Pushing down the bottom lane. Jin Air. Can they do it this time?
Oh man. This really is just, it comes down to, can Azir's soldiers outdo Tempt's arrows? And right now, Tempt he's channeling his inner Legolas right now, and he's really just keeping ESC ever in this game.
Yeah, his snipes have been absolutely insane, but like you said, it is 7v5. Those double Supermen pushing up the top half of the map are going to be pretty massive. Trace actually, taking half his health as he walks forward. He's got a few health bars from his ultimate and then his Guardian Angel there. Loken walking inside the parallel convergence. Will he actually get stunned out there? Nope, just micros back away, but those double super minions on the top half of the map are actually dealing a lot of pressure, a lot of damage, but Crazy is there to try to zone them out there. Che very, very low. Bless walking forward. He is walking into it. Azir Sand Soldier is going to be jumping back away, probably going back to heal. The poke continuing there. The culling is going to chunk out Totoro, but Tempt's pretty safe down. The inhibitor might actually go down there. A nice snipe there onto Pilot. A lot of damage being put down there. Loken walking forward. Big crit onto Pilot. The inhibitor is dead, though. So that means double super minions from every lane. Just kidding. The middle inhibitor is back up.
I feel like I'm stuck in Groundhog Day right now. I don't know what to really do anymore. And Baron now coming back up for the third, or is it the 4th time this game now?
That is the 3rd Baron we will be seeing, if I'm not mistaken. Baron, not as cool as Dragon, does not get his own counter, because it is very rare to see games go quite this long. I mean, scaling just monstrous here for ESC ever. I got a lot of flack for calling Lucian a scaling champion, but it does look like Pilot has scaled pretty insanely so far this game. 500 CS, 3-1, Trinity 4 spot out there. What do you think about this endgame Lucian build, LS?
The endgame Lucian build is a little bit questionable, but given the fact that this is mostly a protect the Azir comp, I think that it's acceptable. The one thing that I want to point out is, number one, Kajix did get that Guardian Angel, so now he's able to do the stuff that we were talking about, and we also see it now coming out onto Ryze. So this makes it extremely problematic for Jin Air if there's ever any 2v2 or 3v3 situations in the event of a last stand. The one problem, though, that I have with Varus' builds, I think he just needs to get rid of his boots because of the way that he plays the team fights.
Tempt is in a little bit of a dangerous spot. He will use that Youmuu's Ghost Blade. Can he get caught out there? Blank trying to make the play happen. I think he actually could have flashed. Oh, cancel on the teleport. Trace didn't go for it.
I'm not really sure what Jin Air is going to do. If ESC ever can actually pull off this Baron and Tristana stays alive, that is the key component. I know Key is missing right now, but he's still here in spirit in Loken.
Man.
If Tristana lives, the game will end.
Oh, maybe a pick here on to Trace. Nope. Somewhere out there, Koobs is smiling. This late game is coming in here. Jin Air actually getting a look for the back door. Maybe Crazy does scout them out just a little bit, and ESC ever needs to position for that. They're pinging the mid lane. Who's gonna go where? Might we see a Crazy base race to end this game? Tempt is actually pushing forward. He's gonna use that Youmuu's Ghost Blade. Is there gonna be enough defense here for ESC ever? Blank's actually going the distance. Just use those Sand Soldiers to shift on up. The teleport back to the base there, and actually this will be an inhibitor taken pretty much for free. ESC can they get back into position. Loken
was an error.
Forward. Shay in a little bit of a rough spot. There's that Azir turret being spawned. Waves of Superman is now crashing through the top and bottom lanes. Jin Air Green Wings take a free inhibitor back off the Baron.
This is a complete error. They did not need to teleport Varus back that early. That was a little bit premature. They could have gotten mid inhibitor exposed given how quickly Varus could have raised the
This could be the last fight of the game. Tempt does get stunned. He walked into it, and now he's actually going to be taking a lot of damage. Does actually still stay alive for just a little bit longer. He's finally actually going to go down. No, he's actually still alive. Does finally fall there. Some low health bars on both sides. Plus actually put down a lot of damage there. In the back there, Loken actually busting everybody. Does flash out there. Loken's still alive, but he is getting attacked there by that Winter's Bite. Is there enough of a shield there? Wing going forward. Going in with a lot of damage. Totoro is still there for the protective. This is that inner flame. Totoro is going to get zapped by the Sand Soldiers, and ESC ever getting ace. Bless will come up here in just a little bit, but not for long. His future is not going on and on. That'll be Jin Air Green Wings with a 5-for-0 exchange. 107,000 gold is what they needed for their shopping spree to win this game. 58 minutes long. Jin Air Green Wings will crush the team fight and crush the base for a Game 1 win over ESC ever.
I don't know what to say about that one, Reed. That was honestly building up to be, again, one of the most impressive defenses in the history of League. But Jin Air methodically and slowly just continuing to put on the vice, and then they pull it out in the final team fight, and that was it.
Oh my God, that was a game for the record books. Maybe a little bit of hesitation, but you cannot say anything bad about Ever and their tenacity. It might not have helped them limit the CC there towards the end, but it definitely meant that they put in work and they were able to sustain through how many Barons, how many Dragons, just absolutely insane. So just a really incredible performance by them, but Jin Air Green Wings playing very cautiously, very carefully, able to pick up the win in the end.
Yeah, they outplayed Ever at every step of the way, except for the late game. I honestly felt like Ever was playing a lot better than them in the late game, and so now the story for Game 2 is going to be a lot different because they're not going to have that handicap inside of Kajix. You can probably be sure of that.
After this game, LS is going to tweet out the post-game damage scores because I want you to see who ESC Ever's backpack they were in. Turns out, Tempt is a fairly good Varus player. He may have played a few games on that champion.
You're going to be very tempted to find Forgiven.
Or just to ban you from all jokes ever. Very good game there by both teams, but in the end it is Jin Air Green Wings that come out on top. It's the best of three though, so there's still a possibility for ESC ever to come back into this. You'll want to stick around because we have game number 2 between the Jin Air Green Wings and Esports Connect as ever coming up next. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
필라델피아. 마라 먹고 울지 마라. 올리브 치킨에 매운 천연 재료로 만든 마라핫 소스. 세상에 없던 매운맛 마라핫 치킨. 1588-9282 BBQ.
운전하다 쿵하면 어떡하지? 난 다이렉트인데? 다이렉트에도 품질이 있어요. 삼성화재 다이렉트 홈페이지에서 봬요.
30년을 먹는데 어찌 이리 한결같이 맛있노?
레벨로가 다르잖아. 순천고추장에 사과 과즙에 다 때리었다.
아이 뭐라.
역시 팔도가 손이 커.
팔도 비빔면 20%업 원판 기념 앵콜 출시.
난 요새 수염 있는 남자가 멋있더라.
안녕.
기타 잘 치는 남자 멋있더라.
어깨 넓은 남자가 멋있더라.
근데 난 얼굴 작은 남자가 제일 좋더라.
난 오늘 나에게 바카스를 사줬습니다. 남자는 자신감을 주. 나를 아끼자. 바카스.
매워. 2016년 점점 섭씨 번져가는 매운맛.
모두들 이 맛에 완전히 중독되었어.
매운맛 국가제라
전쟁은 이미 시작되었다.
매운데 자꾸 먹고 싶어.
나도 그래. 하바네로와 청양고추를 썼다고 맛있어 죽게 만든 셈이야.
하바네로와 청양고추가 더해진 매운맛의 몬스터 ESC 맵스타.
인류와 매운맛의 전쟁이지 말입니다. 보셔야 돼요. 단편적인 모습을 보면 안 되고 결과론적으로 봐야 된다는 거예요. 뽀뽀가 지금 얘기하고 있는 건. 자,
계속 들어갑니다. 현직전,
자,
현직전.
자,
한 대도 맞으면 그렇게 끝납니다.
계속 받아주면 재미가 없다. 와, 이거 노렸어요.
계속 갑니다.
한번 두 번.
여기까지. 자, 캐논 포인트 때리고
여기서.
마무리. 또 있는 게 분명히
네.
알 텐데요.
잡기.
자, 시에 있습니다.
자, 잡기 지금은 한번 잡기 낚시를 노려봤는데.
자, 대시 이후에
와! 그렇다! 비밀의 캐치!
이게 바로 공고의 동체 시력. 그러면 벌써 게이지를 썼어야 됐는데
그렇죠.
시간이 많이 지나고 있고요.
와.
다시 한번 캐논 스파이크 주퍼리 아직까지
이거는 이러면 골고루 갑니다! 마지막 게임이 될 것 같은데요.
공고가 오늘
처음 챔피언십을 만났을 땐 지혜가 있었죠. 그 다음엔 여러 명이 거쳐갔지만 이 자리를 지킨다는 건 아마도 거부할 수 없는 나만의 매력? 피파 고모가 되기까지 쉽지 않았어요. 끝없는 자기 관리가 중요하죠. 피파 온라인 3 챔피언십 놓치지 않을 거예요. EA 스포츠 피파 온라인 3 아디다스 챔피언십 2016이에요.
Watching the crystals turn to ice, Mercury slowly falling, lost underneath the stormy sky.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Coca-Cola Zero, League of Legends Champions Korea, Summer 2016. We are coming back with game number 2. Your damage stats from game 1. I'll give you a hint. Tempt is pretty good at theirs. I believe if you count up the numbers, Tempt alone had more damage than the entire enemy team combined.
That is... Oh my god, that is disgusting.
Not actually true, but close, and that's what's disgusting. You've got about 65,000 damage. I'm doing math on air, that's not allowed. But yeah, basically maybe 70, 75,000 damage, and Tempt alone did almost 61. So just absolutely ridiculous. But turns out face checking, bad idea, and Kha'Zix, not necessarily factors.
Right. I mean, the problem is so you had the Varus mid lane, and it looked like you were looking for an AD jungler, but I mean, I guess if your incentive is to pick Varus and have a Tristana, you can definitely go with an AP jungler. But the problem is, with Rek'Sai being banned out, you can't really pick Rengar right now because he's not a very good champion. So the alternative that I mentioned was Lee Sin, but I still think that you would still have the same problem in the late game finding your way in. And then on top of that, the only real difference is it's going to give you a little bit more pressure to assert dominance over Elise early.
Well, not a really big surprise here. In the end, it is Pilot who picks himself up an MVP to join Blank and Winged. in that MVP category. He's picking up himself 100 points.
I don't really...
What do you think about that MVP?
I don't agree with that MVP. I don't think that Pilot did anything extraordinary.
Dude, he did damage on an 80 carry.
Oh.
I would give an MVP to my team in solo queue if I could get an 80 carry that would deal damage. But looks like Blank is going to be your Sonokong IB MVP for tonight's game. Almost 80% kill participation and still a sterling performance.
Yeah, the MVP for me was Wing. I mean, his warding early game is what set them up to get into a position where there was almost nothing that ever could do. Even when they did hit their power spike, he successfully matched all of Kajix's ganks. He was always in the right position.
Felt like his cocoons were like a lot shorter than normal cocoons because he always hit them at point blank range when somebody face checked into him. So definitely some MVP performances out there. Man, if you could give an MVP to a guy on the losing team, it would definitely go over to Tempt. His Varus has been insane in every game, even ones that he loses. I can't imagine they're going to really let that pick go through, or might just pick a comp that it wouldn't be good into.
Well, I mean, Varus isn't necessarily a versus all champion. He does fit into specific team comps, although it does seem like Temp tries to make him a versus all champion. I would be curious to see if Jin Air is going to ban him just because of that damage chart that we saw, and you can be sure that the players took notice of that at the very end there. But I think that more so, I think Jin Air is going to pick a much faster team composition this time around so that they can just outplay ESC Ever at the earlier stages much more successfully.
I can see the Zyra there. Zyra was actually picked in game number 2, I believe, from Jin Air Green Wings versus Longzhu last week. So, champion we could see out there. So we see all the players getting back into their booths and ready to go here. This is best of 3 game 2 coming up next. And man, you can see some very pensive, thoughtful looking faces there from ESC Ever Tempt, man. That's the struggle right there. Kind of 1v9 there, but does definitely need to get that synergy going for ESC Ever as they come in here to game number 2. What needs to change? Is it a different jungler?
Well, they need to actually have a jungler and not a handicap. That bug was literally a cockroach inside of their house. And basically, Ever just needs to play to their strength. They have one of the best late games in the entire world. They have one of the best team fightings inside of the entire world. So they need to play towards that. But the problem is it looks like Winged had Bless's number at every single step of the way. So if Jin Air goes for a hyper-aggressive composition, can ESC weather the storm in order to make it to that point where they can bring out their strengths?
Jin Air, Plane's probably pretty good at weathering storms, but it's ESC Ever that definitely needs to come back from their game 1 loss. Great decision making. You can see we talked about it early on, the difference between the junglers, early Tiamat for Kha'Zix, there for Bless, and then on the other side, early Sightstone for Winged, who just put on a clinic about how to make Kha'Zix a star and light him up with vision for the entire game. Kind of funny. You just like close your eyes, look at the map.
Kha'Zix was a firefly, that man. Like, I don't know what to say about him. He was constantly in vision.
I want to see like sticky wards come in. So you just like throw a ward on a champion, he's like revealed for a certain amount of time.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be a very interesting
I think
mechanic.
it'd probably be really abusable by teams who are like extremely good at that. So you just like you buy whatever item, you play whatever champion, just throw it on the jungler, and you're safe forever.
Yeah, that would definitely be very interesting.
Interesting concepts all around, but I really want to see this game number 2. As much as I like games that are really bloody, really early, I do want to see this game go on a little bit longer, just to see, like you said, the big strength of Ever. If you've ever heard of a defender's advantage, they definitely have it. So it's something that we'll have to bring out here in game number 2.
Are you familiar with the game Risk?
If by familiar you mean the number 1 result in the destruction of tables and family relationships across the world, second only to Monopoly.
All right. Well,
by the way, I will never play. I lost this one game when I was like 12 years old. I was just done. Like, once you are donezoed, you never get undunzoed with Monopoly.
ESC Ever is like the person that they have like one guy on a country, and you just keep rolling 3 dice against them, and Ever just keeps getting 6s.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are, and then that one time you just give them a weighted die. so they can't help but finally crack.
Kind of ironic there. The big strength that we keep hyping up is Temp's Varus. Kind of a mixed blessing and curse there in the end. It was Temp that walked into the parallel convergence stun, got exploded, and kind of lost his team the game there by getting caught out. So just kind of heartbreaking there to see him so strong with the entire course of the game and then get picked off and lose the team fight thereafter. So some long...
And they're using Totoro again.
That is true. Yeah, Key, I feel like a lot of people have this opinion, especially after watching Keith's Bard performance in the Kespa Cup, and then even in week number 1, that guy is just a monster. I'm not sure if it's necessarily like a limited champion pool or something along those lines. We saw Freak of Freaks want to give their subs some airtime in game number 1 yesterday.
I mean, you do want to go home too, so you can't do that without your keys, you know, so it's just a little problematic.
How are you gonna get inside? ESC having trouble unlocking the door to victory. LS.
I don't know what...
I'm
Honestly,
having trouble unlocking the door to good jokes
tonight. We saw
tonight.
that subs were given playtime yesterday. However, once the loss came in, they swapped them back out for the mains.
And then lost again.
But it's interesting to see that Key doesn't come out, and I don't know if he's here today, actually, either. I didn't see him. So... I don't know what ESC ever is thinking, but we did mention yesterday how if there's any time to give subs playtime and experiment and stuff, now's the time to do it in the very early weeks moving into LCK Summer.
That's true. You got to get your experimentation out of the way. Super excited to actually see SK Telecom play a little bit later on this week. I think they play KT in that Telecom War on the 4th, and oh my gosh, it's just going to be so cool to see how they've not only like adjusted, if they've rested up enough, if they have any super crazy picks after analyzing this brand new patch. It's only going to get more exciting as LCK Summer 2016 draws on. You can see a little bit beaten and bruised there, the Band-Aid on wing as we continue forward. He's got that Rek'Sai right there. Unfortunately banned last game, so might see that here. Just need to see that Twisted Fate in the mid lane for Blanc. He did have a very successful game on TF. 14-4 team score there in their second game versus Longzhu yesterday. So some good champions for Silhouettes.
I think the saddest thing for Jin Air last game was their KDA is now ruined.
That is true, yeah. Jin Air had, what was their KDA, their combined score?
15.25 to 1.
Yeah, that's a fairly good KDA. That's what I like to call the rapid KDA. It's what it looks like whenever I play.
Okay.
You want duo later? That's totally up to you.
All right.
No, it's not. Anyway, back to the players who are actually super good. Just having a little bit of trouble getting them into the game. Still waiting on a couple of Jin Air players to hop in the lobby. Getting in the lobby, probably the most difficult part of playing League of Legends. You actually have to get in there.
Yeah.
I've tried. It doesn't work for me, but I don't actually have a client up here. But still waiting for everybody to get in there and waiting to get into game number 2. If you guys have predictions, if you have thoughts, make sure to tweet those out. I think at Jin Air GW is the Jin Air Twitter account, and then at ESP Connected. If you want to tweet it ever, show them your support. I'm sure they can definitely use it right now as they are down 0-1 rather against Jin Air Green Wing. You see the coaching staff all the way in their booth, ready to get this game underway.
They don't look in the most optimistic of moods, I will say that.
I would say from at least reading a lot of coaching interviews, it's really remarkable to see how sort of like cool, calm, reserved, collected, not overconfident by any means. A lot of these coaches, it's never over until it's over, and a lot of very humble attitudes amongst even some of the winners there. So nice to see some good attitudes. And coming into game number 2, I know we were actually talking about it during the break, certainly favoring the Jin Air Green Wings. Haven't seen too many holes in their play. Maybe the close out the game ability is going to need some beefing up as we come into this game.
I think if ESC ever can really fix their early and mid game and find a way to get it to work, they would definitely be a contender for one of the best teams in Korea, if not the best. No, what am I saying? They already clearly are actually one of the best teams in Korea because of the insurance policy that they have inside of their late game. But they could probably even be the best in a few months if they can really just fix all the problems that they're having for the first 25 minutes.
Got a short cameo from us up here. See pages and piles of notes up here. I've just got a couple of things to look at. Talking about MVP performances. That last game, Pilot added his name to Blanc and Winged, so 3 out of 5 members of Jin Air Green Wings, really stacking those up. Kind of interested to see who's going to grab another one. Kuzan, it's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Kuzan. He will not get a chance to play here, so no MVP birthday present for him. Maybe he gets to stay home and celebrate that. We will hopefully get to celebrate the start of this next game. Still waiting on everybody. And it does look like both teams are signaling they are ready to go. Everybody back in the lobby. And I don't know, interested to see how the ban phase is going to go this time around. We saw a little bit of focus on the jungle. Will that pressure sort of force Bless on a champion that maybe he won't be quite as familiar with? The Kazakhs came out, didn't really do a whole lot. Looking for a stronger performance there and maybe tempt to not get discouraged from having carried so hard in game 1. Hopefully he's got some juice left in the carry tank.
Yep, and so basically, like I was saying, I'm expecting Jin Air to come out with a very aggressive team composition, and I think that ESC will respond with a very defensive, late-game-centric composition.
Well, here we go. We are going to find out as we get into game number 2. So when Esports Connected ever on the right-hand side of your screen in the red versus the team on the left in the blue. It's Jin Air Green Wing starting out the ban phase with Annalise taking that away from Wing. Not going to get his comfort pick this time. Or not taking away from Wing, taking away from Bless. It's like, wait a second, they're taking away from their own jungler.
Yeah.
But, it's going to go down, and so is the Gragas. That was the champion that I think, if I'm not mistaken, Bless played most recently before this season. Had a loss on Gragas, but not going to let that one go through in case they want to run some tanks in the jungle or top lane.
Yeah, and so now, oh, well, that changes up now with the Lucian. Both teams were just banning what they had just played the game before.
They're like, hey, wait a second, those champions are pretty strong, so taking turns banning out these champions. This should actually show up there on your screen. To take out Azir and Lucian as the next two picks. We're giving you guys a little bit of a spoiler there, but there you go. You can see it on your screen right now. So it's like, how many champions from the last game can we ban? The answer is a lot. Still waiting on the next ban here from Jin Air Green Wings. They are still going to keep that Bard ban out there. They're like, we know Key is not playing. Maybe his spirit has infested Totoro, and they don't want him to be too neighborly this game.
Yeah, and so none of the bans are really too peculiar. There is no necessarily target bans, though, this time around coming out of Jin Air, and that Nidalee gets instantly locked in. The Twisted Fate, however, is a target ban against Blount.
Now, both games in Jin Air's series versus Longzhu, they actually played Rek'Sai jungle, but we didn't see a Rek'Sai in game number 1. It was banned out. Going for the Nidalee this time does leave that Rek'Sai open for Bless, which would be a pretty solid pick to go for there. Rek'Sai kind of coming back in the meta, but we saw Ashe come out, I think it was yesterday. Saw a very strong performance from Ruler on Ashe, so if you want to watch a clinic, go back and check out that series, Samsung versus the Freaking Freaks. It was a pretty good way to look at what a good Ashe game looks like, and it's covered over for a while there. Loken locking it in.
Yeah, and Ashe is starting to become just one of the most accepted AD carry picks inside of Korea, both in solo queue and in competitive. And again, as you just mentioned, we saw Ruler play a very impressive Ashe game just yesterday, and then we also saw a very impressive Ashe game last week. So she is entering into the higher ranks of AD carry tiers. And with the Echo pick, that is one of the champions that we call one of the gods of top lane, and it is responded standardly with a Maokai. And Victor coming out for Blanc. So there's going to be 3 AP champions on Jin Air Green Wings team. And ESC hovering Braum right now, but not so in Kindred. So Bless just seems to love AD junglers. That's the story of Bless.
I mean, Kindred, you can't really fault him for taking the Kindred when it's open. Definitely one of the strongest S-tier jungle picks right now. But I feel like not having a tank in that last fight was also a little bit of a detriment there to ESC ever. I mean, they could kind of throw Kazakhs or Ryze in there, but none of those are going to be, the big tanks in the top lane, like, Maokai, like Echo, super tanky Poppy would have been another idea. But look at that lock-in right there. That is a Sivir picked up for Pilot.
Yeah, so now the Sivir coming out, and that is going to give a lot of mobility to Victor inside of the team fight. And I wonder if they're just going to go for a super speed comp with the Karma, right? And then Victor just sort of bulldozes right into the enemy team with that gravity field. And I don't know how ESC ever is going to round it out, although Tom Kench is getting highlighted right now. And that actually would be extremely effective against the Ash Arrow, so that is a very interesting response.
Hey, there it is, locked in. Che is going to field the Tom Kench this game. Interesting pick. We haven't actually seen that too much. I remember I got played a couple of times in, I think, LCK playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of a niche pick, but great at saving someone from single target CC.
All right, and now, please no.
He's hovering and it's locked in. Mid lane, top lane? Probably top lane. If you could see the heartbroken look on LS's face right now, we're about to see a Swain come into the game.
This is one of the most useless champions in the history of the entire game. You get him 6 items, he does nothing, okay? Mortal Reminder is more than just a Mortal Reminder. This guy was born with cancer. Okay, I don't know what to say.
If they could turn the camera on us, I've got this giant salt shaker. I'm just like shaking it all over LS right now. So much of it over there. A little bit interesting to see some changes come into Swain. With the changes to the way that his healing works, he works a little bit better versus tanks. But I'm actually interested to see whether or not he's going to be played mid or top. Traditionally, you have to swap before the 20-second mark, so that's going to be locked in for a mid lane Swain versus Victor.
I just don't understand Victor's going to be able to outshove him at most parts of the game. I don't know what the Swain does for this team composition. I don't know how you're going to get onto Victor. You can't rely on the Ash Arrow because they have the Tom Kench. Echo can't really do anything to the backline. Swain, again, is useless. I need to just keep stating that. It is a terrible champion. You should feel bad for picking it.
All right, well, no caster bias here, of course.
No, there's no bias at all, except it's just a bad pick. And
well, we will get a chance to see how good or bad. I'm going to laugh so hard if he just goes like 10-0 this game. We're going to have to reevaluate that. But your starting lineup's coming out once again. We're going to see Trace Wing, Black, Pilot, and Shay, Crazy Bless, Tempt, and the rest of Ever out there. Let's go ahead and get ourselves ready. Game number 2 starts right now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Game 2. Starting off with some good cheers. We get ourselves ready. Been trying to comfort and console LS over here, completely heartbroken over the state of this game. Attempting the mid lane. Now, we just saw him play Varus. I don't know if there's a more opposite champion from Varus than Swain. So a vast champion ocean at Tempt's disposal, apparently. We'll see if he can put his carry pants on once again, because game 1, incredibly strong performance. Looking for another one here on Swain.
I mean, I feel like Tempt is just, this is his way of getting back at his teammates for last game. I don't think there's anything else to
guys,
say.
I tried so hard. We're throwing in the Swain. I see their coach there is like, wait, what are you doing? Don't lock it. And then he does. He's just like, guys,
Leroy Jenkins.
You had your chance.
Yeah. So
Game 2, another chance here. Loken going for the Ash as well. I'm trying to look at these team comps and figure things out, but that's why you're here, LS. What's going on? What are the objectives for both of these teams besides tilting you off the face of the earth?
Well, the objective for ESC is to do nothing at 40 minutes. No, but seriously, ESC Ever is going to basically look to make picks with the Ash Arrow, but is that going to be negated by Tom Kench?
Oh, Bless does actually get that Gromp, or the Krug rather, a little bit of slow there on Crazy. Turns that slow right back around. Crazy pushed around just a little bit, still level 1, but healing up thanks to that Corrupting Potion. And holy cow, Jay just relentless. Cleans that jungle out of champions, but they're just going to walk down bottom.
Yeah, so as I was saying, basically ESC Ever is going to basically look to make picks via the Ash Arrow, or they're going to try to make plays with Echo's teleport, but their entire team composition is being played on the onus.
Totoro and Trace just kind of chilling out there, hanging out, being best friends.
Yeah, and just a little skirmish there. But as I was saying, ESC Ever, their entire team comp is basically built around the fact that Jin Air is supposed to make mistakes, or they're supposed to force Jin Air to make mistakes. And when you do something like that, that's just not a proper way to play professional League of Legends.
Well, what are some of the mistakes that they could force them in here? Talking about the win rate there, completely 100% victory there by Trace on Maokai. Turns out he's pretty good at playing tanks. Played Maokai in both of Jin Air's wins versus Longzhu, and he's right back at it again with the Maokai on top.
Yeah, and so basically one of the things that they're going to look to do is they're going to look to open up the game as much as they possibly can. Now that's going to benefit Kindred and Nidalee both. However, the problem that it's going to give for Jin Air Green Wings is the Ash Arrows cross map or anything is going to be a little bit more problematic, but as long as they can make it to the mid game, I feel like they're not going to have any problem, especially once that Mortal Reminder comes in on Sivir.
Yeah, Sivir's just like, hey, wait a second. They've got a lot of healing on their team. I wonder if there was an 80 carry item that made that not happen. And turns out it's called Mortal Reminder. It's pretty good. I actually really like Mortal Reminder because it's interesting to see how few people bought it early on compared to Lord Dominic's Regard. People saw Lord Dominic's, they're like, oh my gosh, I deal so much damage to tanks. It's so good. And now you barely ever see that. Mortal Reminder is just a great way of just guaranteeing that somebody's not going to out-heal your damage.
Right, and we see the call coming in on Sivir, so definitely Pilot is thinking in the longer term, and Camera is back on that useless mid lane champion right now.
I love how Swain's bird, you know what Swain's bird's name is?
Isn't it? I actually forgot. It's something
Beatrice.
ugly. Beatrice, yeah.
Dude, what are you talking about? Beatrice?
Reminds me of Beetlejuice.
My grandmother's name is Beatrice. I'm just kidding, it's not. But if it was, I would be super offended.
Oh man, I feel for you. So anyways,
Master's just like, yo, your grandma's name sucks. No.
I just don't know. And it's like Summoner's Rift is even against ESC Ever for that Swain pick. They gave them an Air Dragon. So even with that early game rotation, there was no hope for them to do anything.
Air Dragon. Cloud Drake, I feel like if you have to make a super cuddly dragon that probably softens your laundry, you want to call it a Cloud Drake. I don't see a whole lot of fearsomeness there. Now, you're going to see some fearsomeness here from Winged. We're going to go for a jump over this Rift's Herald wall. He's thinking about it. Doesn't want to commit. Does actually go for the commit. He's coming up towards the top lane. You see Jade walking forward on Logan. The flash. The immediate stun there with the concussive blow. Spear forces the flash away. And Logan does not have a turret here. So Winged is going to use that red buff. Teleport coming in here for Esports Connected. Ever. Are they going to save their AD carry? Nice spell shield there. Logan will pop that somebody kill. Another concussive blows there. Will stop Pilot for just a second. And ESC Ever's duo lane stays alive.
Well, I'm hoping that we catch a replay on that right now. That was a lot more beneficial for Jin Air than it was for ESC Ever, because that's not what you want to be happening right now.
Crazy started his TP. I think Trace actually canceled it with Twisted Advance.
Right, and now Trace is the one with Teleport in case ESC Ever tries to get a little bit frisky here.
Here comes Bless and Totoro, and Che is unable to save himself. I don't care how much gray health you need. He's going to have base health. First Blood going over to ESC Ever.
Yeah, that was a little 50 Shades of Grey right there.
Not enough shades. You needed like 51 shades of gray health.
51 Shades?
That's the sequel.
Is the sequel, is his name Tom?
Well, please don't.
They can use all sort of things when you have a Victor, you know what I mean? Alright, so now all that's really going to happen is Ashe is probably going to freeze the top lane. So Jin Air went from being in an excellent spot. They did not have a ward from Maokai to properly assist Che when he got caught out just then, but this is actually really problematic because now ESC Ever is in the spot that they love to be in, which is just a defensive, passive game because of the weakness where they don't seem to know how to make their late game somehow happen early in a mid game. But given the team composition that they have right now, that doesn't really matter because they're doing everything they want to do.
Just now showing on that pink ward. Pink ward versus pink ward, it looks like the Jin Air Green Wings pink ward is a little bit better. Going to be clearing that out as the Rotatos get planted down in the bottom lane. ESC coming down to defend their turret, not give Jin Air any sort of an easy objective takedown.
Yeah, and now the problem with this is the Nidalee pick is actually falling behind, and the reasoning for that is because Kindred is inherently just going to do more the longer the game goes, and now Kindred is actually the one that basically can just get perma free farm because the map is a closed map for ESC right now, where the defensive points that they have to defend are much easier for them than it is for Jin Air to really make anything happen. And with the Air Dragon being the dragon of choice for Summoner's Rift, there's no real incentive for either team, so it just really sucks right now.
Yeah, if you were seeing the old school Kindred, that dragon would represent 5 stacks on your Sated Devourer, and unfortunately does not, actually I think it's fortunately, it doesn't require you to stack it anymore now that Blood Razor has come out, so.
Alright, choose a family.
Like, what if the first one doesn't see the right angle on the ward in the bush? You just gotta make sure there is absolutely, wait, what? Okay, I guess that's one way to go about it.
I think he heard us. He was mad that we were making fun of the pink ward, so he calls down the Chaos Storm.
He's just really angry that he double warded that bush, so he's like, get me out of here.
Actually, I think it was because Swain came back in Division, so he just got really angry that he had to look at that face, and so he just casted the ulti so he could get out of there quicker.
Face made for radio.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we gotta look at it here. And Swain, yeah, he's gonna push a huge wave into the turret. Should be absorbed there by Winged as he makes a stop by the lane. Actually, no, he just ditches the wave and is going to go for a camp takedown there on the Raptors.
And, yeah, well, Swain's recalling, thank God. He's off the camera.
And he's going back, and it looks like the build is going to be double Dorans, Rod of Ages. Not a whole lot of innovation on Swain builds lately. You're going to see that. You're going to see like a Rylai's Crystal Scepter. You're going to see maybe Abyssal Scepter as well. All some great items there.
Now, what ESC Ever's doing right here, they just need to push this wave and then actually back off. And honestly, if Echo would just enable Maokai to shove the wave back into him, if Echo could shove the wave really hard into Maokai right now and make his way down to Dragon with Kindred, they could just look to take the Air Dragon so that they can open up for a mid-game team fight when they're going to have their power spike, or, well, not necessarily power spike, but a relatively good timing in the build paths for Ashe and for Kindred and Echo right around the 16-17 minute mark when the second dragon would be spawning.
Well, you have to kill first dragon in order to get to number 2, and I feel like that's the purpose that Cloud Drake has right now. It's like it's the dragon you have to get rid of to get to the other dragons. I was definitely a Cloud Drake in school. Not a good collegiate experience for me. That's why you go further and you get your master's degree, where you feel like you're the Inferno Drake afterwards. Definitely an apt comparison if you guys have gone through that experience. But
were you picked last in kickball?
Oh my gosh, I was the kickball. Unlucky. Nice snare there onto Blanc Wings, just hopping in there for some moral support. No, ESC they got really angry about face checking into death so many times in game 1, so now they are the ones going in for it. Oh man, will we see Wing walk into it? No, they backed out.
Okay, yeah.
Nice ward from Shay and got it out.
And so now it looks like they're just going to back off, and this is Dragon timing in all seriousness, so just expect to see them take Dragon, expect to continue to see Swain to be useless, and hopefully...
He's really good at shoving that wave in.
Well, that's very impressive.
Super impressive, actually. It's almost like Victor's pretty good at that, too.
This champion... I think that was Timer Dinger.
Shay uses the tongue grab to get a big swallow there onto a Krug. I don't think I would ever willingly swallow a Krug. Also not a catfish, so something we can all be a little bit more thankful for. Tom Kench, probably, I guess Kog'Maw would probably need a Krug to use the Maw of the Void. Oh man, blanking a little bit of a rough spot. We'll see who's the terrible champion here. Temp's actually taking a lot of damage off of that Chaos Storm. The spear narrowly dodged away from Winged up in front, but not able to go for a kill.
Sad day for Blanc. I'm pretty sure that it's actually Blanc.
Pretty sure it's Blanc.
Because in Korean, that would be written with... it would be written to be pronounced Blanc, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Alright, I'll take
just random Korean fact.
My Korean is absolutely terrible. I learned the alphabet yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. But I like sit and stare at like simple signs for like 20 minutes trying to read them. No idea what it says, but it's pretty cool. One step at a time, taking down that Rift Herald. One step at a time as well.
Not really sure why Air Dragon wasn't just captured a moment ago, especially when they got Victor shoved out of mid lane. So The Roof Carol definitely going to be very good. That is something that you definitely want onto Maokai, and it's going to last until 32 minutes, which is going to directly synergize with potential Baron timings. And now in bot lane, though, the CS relatively even. Mid lane, there is a 12 CS difference. That's really not going to matter because Victor just keeps scaling, and then, I mean, Swain just keeps scaling too, but into the ground. And nothing else really happening to it. But the story in top lane CS is absolutely big.
Okay, yeah, that is actually something to talk about. Very dominant there by Crazy. Bless actually Smite stealing away the red buff, so he goes from red buff to red buff and takes that one away from Winged, which is actually, we saw Winged actually use that very well for a lot of pressure on that first top lane gank early. He's not going to be able to do that again.
Yeah, and so right here, top lane, there is absolutely zero utility or anything to be gained from it from Jin Air's team composition, so I think I would like to see ESC Ever actually concede the top tier 2 in some sort of an exchange for a bottom tier 2.
Lands on attempt, forced to flash in. We'll see if he's got the damage. It is actually very, very tanky. Totaro's coming up there to protect him. Tempt will be able to make it out of there alive. Both Blanc and Tempt very, very low, but flash forced out.
And unfortunately there, nothing really came from that. But ESC Ever is going to be the ones that benefit because they are the defensive team composition. So any successful defense is almost always a victory.
You know, Bud is 108 Imperial. Back to the Cloud Drake. Bless on top of it, and he will be able to take that one out. Woohoo, Cloud Drake! Everybody's super excited. There's like 3 people in the audience who just clapped for that. They're big fans of Cloud Drake and his Canadian R&B.
Yeah.
That's like what you get when you like combine Final Fantasy and singing about starting at the bottom and then arriving at some other point. I feel like as remarkable a concept that that is, it makes a whole lot of sense. Like, it just makes sense, like, when you begin at one place, you would at some point in time arrive at a different place. Unfortunately, I didn't have the musical talent to be able to turn that into a chart-topping signal.
Are you tone deaf?
Single. No, I took piano lessons for 6 years until the teacher asked my parents to make them stop sending me there. So that's why I'm here doing casting, which requires no musical ability at all, much like being Drake. You know. Back to that area, it's going to be Blessed taking himself another mark of the Kindred. I believe that is his third. Logan and Trace kind of with a face-off down there in the bottom lane. Little does he know, the Maokai is a tree planted in the grass. Okay, well now he knows. Stepping on out of there, but
this is going to get...
Logan, a big teleport coming in there right on top of Winged. Trace a little bit of a rough spot there. He's going to get eaten up there by Jay. Flashed away. The arrow misses. Pilot on the run, on the hunt, backwards. Tracy's in a little bit of a rough spot there. Gets locked up there, but Trace is still the one in a little bit of trouble. Dinner Greenwing's actually forced to play defensively there. What happened, LS?
Well, it turns out that when a giant enchanted crystal arrow misses, good things don't happen. If that arrow would have hit, it would have been a completely different team fight. Nothing really would have come from it because the minion wave wasn't big enough and nothing else really was going to happen anywhere. There's no dragon, there's no baron. Nothing would have happened. So that was just actually just a very bizarre fight that ESC wanted to invest so heavily into because honestly the gold that they should have obtained from it would have only just been like a kill. So
they did get 4 summoners out of it, so they blew 3 flashes and a summoner heal off of all of that, so it's still some value there, but not a kill. You see the effectiveness of that Tom Kench we were talking about earlier, great at saving people caught out in rough situations.
Yeah.
Definitely fulfilling that there.
The problem here though is Trace is just he's getting almost doubled in CS right now. And so that's where you see ESC Ever right now with the gold lead at the very top. That's mostly all coming from Echo and a little bit from Swain in the mid lane, unfortunately. I don't know what that shield was on Braum, but...
Hey man, he's really... I think he was predicting a boomerang or something like that. Who knows, Totoro?
So if you're a viewer and you're watching this and it seems very boring that ESC is not really doing anything, they kind of can't at this point in time. There's nothing really for them to do. They could concede bottom tier 1 to obtain top tier 1 because top lane isn't really going to be beneficial for them in the long run anyway. or they could concede top tier 2 in an effort to launch a two-pronged attack against Dragon and bot tier 2 in the coming minutes.
It is Inferno Drake, so that is definitely very valuable. Both teams probably prioritizing that. So we're going to see Kindred flip her way onto the bottom half of the map. Most likely. A lot of pressure there in the mid lane for ESC Ever. Some pings going down onto that Dragon area. It won't actually be up for a while, so maybe just wanting to get some ward control around there. Trace, even with that Rift Herald buff, not enough to help him have any sort of a foothold versus Crazy.
Yep. And like you were just saying about even with that Rift Herald buff and Echo facing against Echo, it's Maokai can't really do anything until he actually completes those items later on. So he's just going to be basically doing nothing until the major team fights, and he's just going to be relying on teleport to really assist his team. But again, even though Ever is looking ahead, and even though they have a team composition that wants to scale into the late game and then, you know, have big team fights at 30-40 minutes, the problem is going to come when Mortal Reminder enters the battlefield and when Ash's arrows are going to be negated because Jin Era is going to be clumped up, and that means that Tahm Kench is going to be able to just negate whoever gets stunned, and then it's going to be up to Braum to, you know, stun whatever other targets are remaining.
We're going to see, like, Mortal Reminder Trace. Like, guys, I'm so far behind, I might as well limit some healing here. Although I think it would make a little bit more sense to maybe get, like, a Morella Nomicon. That's probably pretty good for him. But probably won't see that. Just going to go tank items. I was just thinking about ways to get Grievous Wounds out there. Because it's going to be really effective. It's going to keep Echo from healing up from his ultimate when he uses that. Keep Swain from being a champion. And no lifesteal on either Bless or Loken, should they decide to get that. I guess Kindred already has a lot of that with their ultimate as well. So definitely a great item. Should see that prioritized. The game draws on. Crazy, farming like crazy, taking away the Gromp and just emptying that upper jungle, the upper lane, upper everything.
Yeah, I want to say that Victor's...
Oh wait, Totoro. Okay, if Jay had eaten in there, that would have been a little bit rough. Pointing out the flank ward, our observers letting us know that that opportunity is available. Crazy sitting in base. Is this a good idea to go for it?
Well, these are the type of fights that they want to take. Crazy has teleport, but the other problem, though, is that Swain has teleport as well, and Victor does not.
Good spears there from Wing, hitting both Loken and Totoro with chunk damage. But no committal on the teleport. Either Tempt or Crazy could have come down there. Not going to give up that pressure just yet.
Yeah. And Victor with that tier 3 Hex Core immediately. Now, this is something that generally you do when you're accelerating and you're in a lot of control, or when there's no item that really benefits you. But we know that in this case, Morella Nomicon would have been of huge benefit to his entire team, getting those Grievous Wounds down onto Echo, getting them on Kindred, getting them on Swain, and even affecting Ashe a little bit to a certain degree. So I think it's very peculiar that we see just the rush into the tier 3 and hold on, the team fight might start.
Starting out 0 wards in that pit there, and Jin Air Greenwings lose one of the best dragons in the game there. Kindred taking it out. Bless secures Inferno Drake for ESC Ever.
And that is 2 dragons for ESC Ever in the event that they get that Elder Dragon. That is really going to help them out. And the Inferno Drake, it does a lot for them, given their team composition, because generally they don't have too much damage coming in, so any sort of bolstering to those stats is definitely going to help them out, because a lot of their team comp is utility and sustain, not just outright burst.
Speaking of bolstered stats, which champion has the most CS in the game, LS?
I don't know.
That would be that mid lane Swain guy. He's pretty good at killing minions. Oh, I take it back. Beatrice is actually pretty good at killing minions. You get that sick 10 health execute. Usually does make CSing pretty easy nowadays. Just throw Beatrice into the wave and you no longer have to be good at last thing. She just grabs them for you. Pretty helpful bird.
You don't know how much this pains me. You don't know how much.
Gonna need to get a hotline for the Wambulance after this game. Maybe some Band-Aids. LS is looking pretty rough over here. No more Swain, please. But to be fair, he's very, very strong. Still 0-0-0. To be fair, there's only 1 kill in the game yet. So Bless has secured Inferno Drake, looking to steal that blue buff away. And ESC Ever, they're reminiscent of like Jin Air Greenwings. This mid-game, just offensive, doing stuff, making plays, making these assertive moves across Summoner's Rift for objectives.
Right, and this is the rotation thing that I was talking about a little bit briefly earlier. earlier, was where they trade bottom tier 1 for top tier 1 because...
Oh, Wing in a little bit of a rough spot. Pounce is a good ability.
Yeah. And they're just going to trade bottom tier 1 for top tier 1, and that's going to benefit ESC Ever more than it's going to benefit generic Green Wings. It's going to let them get to their items that they want faster, but it also continues to open up the game even more forever. And now just expect to see them posture again until the next dragon comes up, because that's what their team comp does. But if someone does misstep, the Ash Arrow probably will come out.
At which point, Shay will exist as a champion, and will negate that. Hopefully, that's the ideal situation. So, no vision here on generic Green Wings duo lanes. They hide off to the side of mid lane. Tempt here does not see anything coming, but will they? We're going to see Shay and Pilot come out of that Abyssal Voyage. Nice the flash there right over. Tempt will be forced to flash away there. A lot of damage though on to Pilot. Tempt might be turning this one around. Totoro coming down from the top half of that, blanketing a little bit of extra movement speed off that power transfer, and a good disengage. Generic Green Wings go in, and then right back out again, doing the hokey pokey in the mid lane.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Pilot and Shay were on the same page right there. That flash and then missing the Q was kind of unacceptable, given how easy that is actually to combo. It's not like too much is asked. So Tempt should have just gone down, but ESC Ever again gets away with another huge advantage now.
Wing running into the mid lane. We can see Tempt 1v2 here. Blank is out of mana, so for all intents and purposes, it's just a 1v1. And turns out Wing is not ready to fight Tempt. It has 247 CS at 23 minutes.
And I want to see, now, the 247 to 216 in mid lane is quite big, but I think that it's countered by the fact that Echo has an almost equal lead over Maokai right now. However, Nidalee does have a giant CS gap over Kindred, but that doesn't really matter because we talked about how gold values can be misleading, and if ESC Ever is at any point ahead in gold, they're really far ahead.
An Abyssal Scepter completed there for Wing. So he is in base coming out. Will we see this dive be affected there? Trey's going to get caught out, but it looks like Bless is actually the one going to get caught there. He is in a little bit of a rough spot. Pulled back in there with that gravity field. Bless is out of there, and so are hopefully ESC Ever. Nice dodge there by Totoro, but he's actually going to get right in the range of the Twisted Advance. Trey's taking him down. Pilot actually the one to get the kill credit. Now Loken on the run does not have that Enchanted Crystalline Arrow. Running for his life. Throwing out a little bit of extra slow there. Dodging on that spear. Crazy. Running away there. Has the opportunity to ult backwards if he wants to try to turn this one around, but
Tom
no
catches
mana.
up.
And there we go. Abyssal Scepter, or Abyssal Voyage rather, able to carry someone here. ESC, are they going to arrive alive? They will make it out successfully. Tempted to mid lane, though. He is making the best out of a bad situation, putting some damage down onto that turret. And those, he does need to stay safe from the rotation there. Shay and Trace in to save the mid lane.
Now, given that they had the red buff, I think they could have tried to pressure the tower or even actually go for a Tahm Kench ultimate, but it doesn't look like they chose to do that.
A little bit of an overcommitment, and that Twisted Advance to dodge the Ash Arrow, so sick.
Yeah. And in this team fight, you can see that Kindred just gets completely caught out. Swain was not here for this entire fight. Totoro just gets brought down right now. Winged with some really impressive jukes at certain points, as you just saw right there at the very end, trying to get that red buff slow onto Ash, and if that would have happened, this would have been a completely different looking game. You could probably expect the tier 2 bottom tower forever to be gone, and the tier 1.
And the rotation for Dragon, had it been up, it was not up. We do have, I believe that is, I don't know which dragon is the next one to come up. Probably going to have a view of the pit there in just a moment.
And now it looks like ESC Ever is in position to take it, and I think Echo is going to walk there. And walking to Dragon enables you to conserve the teleport for immediately after, in the event that there is some proper location to teleport to maybe perhaps pressure a tower, or just conserve it for the upcoming Baron.
Oh man, this would be Inferno Drake number 2, ESC Ever. I've seen somebody, Spear does check into the brush, a nice one. They're Winged, master of vision control, able to just scout the enemy out at every single turn, puts it down, clears it out, and Winged. Like you said, probably a contender for the MVP of game number 1. Putting in some work here in game 2. Here there on the Crazy doesn't matter, and Inferno Drake started out by ESC.
And look at the item on Sivir right now.
That is an Executioner's Calling.
Right, and so now I don't think Swain's going to be doing too much inside of these team fights.
As opposed to normally, but now pressuring into the pit there. Loken might be looking for a big ultimate here if he wants to fire that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, dragging him down to about half HP. Ginger Green Wings lose that Scuttle Crab right on top of it. It does look like they are going to be taking that dragon. It is smote away there by Winged, but the ensuing fight may not be going in Ginger Green Wings' favor. They are going to lose Trace there. He's the first one out of the fight there. Looks like Pilot, a little bit of a rust spot. Crazy going right on top of him, but actually is forced to ult backwards. Nice Kindred ult will actually heal up the rest of ESC ever. Get a nice juicy heal out of there, but a nice juicy Inferno Drake goes to Jin Air.
Right, and that was absolutely crucial for them to secure that dragon right now, because if ESC ever got that dragon, they would just have an unfair amount of stats right now for free, and that is just
ridiculous.
Unfortunate. Any team that's on the receiving end of unfair RNG that can occur sometimes through the dragons. But I think that fight is not actually representative of what's really going to happen. We saw that the last week in some of the team fights, where sometimes someone just got caught out, and even though one team was supposed to win the fight or be advantageous heading into it, it looked like a complete stop. And here we go into a replay. You see they're just bursting down the dragon, but Echo getting that stun onto Pilot, and then Tom Kench gets stunned, so there's not too much that Sivir can do. So Swain is getting off all this healing that he shouldn't be able to get off.
He was under grievous wounds there for the entirety of that fight, but you saw how effective Che was at saving his AD carry. A great spell shield there by Sivir, but Pilot actually was still stunned immediately afterwards. You can't spell shield everything.
And then you saw the problem, though, with Ever again, is immediately after that fight, they did not capitalize on the victory as much as they could have. And this is the problem that I've been talking about with a few teams, even since the first series that we cast last week, where sometimes they get these absolute gigantic advantages and they have situations where they can just keep adding salt to the wound, but they don't take it.
Plenty of salt already added to your wounds this game, LS. Tempt actually, having a pretty decent effect on the game. He is super huge. He actually does go for a Void Staff next. Kind of interesting to see that. There's a lot of ability power. Jay, Blanc, Winged, and Trace all deal AP. I don't want to ask you if Spirit Visage is a good item on Swain, because I'm not sure I'd get an unbiased response, but he does have the Abyssal Scepter, which is the offensive kind of version of them.
Well, the problem with his build right now is it's a little bit peculiar because of the way that Magic Pen works in League of Legends. So when you have that flat pen and then you hit it with a percentage pen, you're actually losing value on your Void Staff. So I'm not quite sure why that wasn't just like a Leandri's or something.
I thought it was actually changed the other way, so percent applies first and then flat.
I thought that was changed in Season 5. I could be wrong.
Okay, well, that'll be something for people to post angrily about somewhere.
Yeah, indeed.
This was supposed to be an analyst.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, well, bottom lane, looking at the tanks, not something exciting, so that's why we're switching up the top lane. Thank you, Based Observer, for showing us something interesting, like Sivir wave clearing minions. Well, now we do actually get to see something interesting. Tempt rotating down to the bottom lane, only to be scouted out by a couple of wards and head
rotation doesn't make any sense, by the way. I just have to point out how bad this is.
Teleport.
He does have teleport, right, but you can't assume that anything's really going to happen there. You're trying to attack a Maokai who has already Spirit Visage and he's underneath his tower, and you're a Swain. So what are you really hoping to accomplish?
That's why that Void Staff got bought. You got Void Staff, Abyssal Scepter, man. Spirit Visage means nothing. Just kidding. Actually, still super great. It would probably make that a pretty unfair fight under turrets. So keep an eye on things. Bless has been a big factor for his team down in CS, but has helped ESC ever secure both of those objectives. Loken always with his finger on top of that R button to see if he can push it in the right direction. Maybe trying to stop the recall here from Pilot, who does make it back to base at the very last second.
Yeah, and now you see ESC Ever continuing to push down onto top lane, and this isn't a rotation that is necessarily bad since we're still 2 minutes out from Dragon, so they can definitely get some ward coverage down on the blue side jungle, given that they are going to recall before Dragon, so the sight stones and everything is going to be replenished. And so they can just kind of pull them away from Dragon to guarantee that no pink wards or anything goes down on the right-hand side of the map. So this push, while it's not really achieving anything, it actually, well, it's not achieving anything on the surface, at least not in top lane, but it is achieving stuff in the sense that Jin Air Green Wings cannot be on the right side of the map to get the ward coverage that they want leading up to Drake.
Yep, Dragon spawning. It's only a Cloud Drake, but 2 Cloud Drakes. Sooner or later, you're just moving like a rocket ship. On its way to Mars. Forget the rest of that song. I should probably remember that. But either way, it's good to have dragons. I feel like that's fairly safe analysis.
Yeah.
And so a minute until that objective is up. Not an incredibly impactful one, but one that should still be of interest to both teams.
And now it just looks like the next major team fight is going to take place now at Dragon. Victor with the Rylai's and the Void Staff now for this team fight. And a Guardian Angel on Maokai, that's very, very interesting. And the reason that I say that is because all of the damage coming out of ESC is periodic and not necessarily combo reliant. So generally, Guardian Angel really can skew team fights if the enemy team's composition is reliant on chaining combos and spells together in order to be effective, but that's not the case for ESC Ever's comp, so not quite sure why the GA is here.
Yeah, generally, as a tank, if you're the one dying, then the damage is going on to the tank and not the carries, so might be a little bit interesting to see the Maokai come back afterwards. Do you know if Sap Magic still stacks while you're reviving?
I'm not so sure about that mechanic.
And you're not actually dead. So maybe you just like respawn with some health and they get even more off of Sap Magic. Some hidden interactions.
Does time just freeze for you? Are you in like a stasis?
Well, I mean, that's probably more of an Echo's thing. Oh, the arrow misses! Point blank range. Some slows there onto Che. Will force him to flash backwards. A little bit of damage being dealt up. Pilot playing so far forward. Back and forth. Some great micro there, but not a great arrow.
That was, he belongs playing American football.
Yeah, much like the television show of the same name, Arrows, much better earlier on in this game. The later it goes, the worse the arrows get.
Yeah. And now, it looks like they're trying to choke them out of the straight.
Some nice work coverage being cleared out there. Totoro, man, if he had hit that Winter's Spy, that might have been some initiation potential. Loken actually doing a great job managing that distance away from Trace. Does get snared up there by the Never Move. Che there with the save. A lot of damage from that burst and on to Temp, who is actually under grievous wounds. He's not able to heal back up. He is going to try to walk back into the fight. Crazy actually pretty low there, but he does still have his ultimate back available. Looking to go back in the fight there. Bless tumbling back out. There's actually Temp with the first kill of the fight there. Trace actually very low. He's going to pop his Guardian Angel. There's the Kindred ult, keeping everyone on ESC Ever alive there. They are going to find one. They're going to find another one. It's a double kill for Swain. Train starting to rain damage down on to a now quite aced Jin Air Green Wings. How about that champion, LS?
No, he's bad. He did. No, that was not him.
Man, you're right. LS double kills always super bad. If he was a good champion, he would have pentakilled them right there.
No, that champ, he did nothing that team fight. I'm hoping that we get a replay on it.
He walked forward, man. That's all you got to do.
He did nothing. If that was an Azir, if that was anything else, the team fight would have gone even worse for Jin Air Green Wings.
Totoro almost dies there to the first Baron buff of the game. Taking it 35 minutes. We'll go over to ESC Ever. I don't think we've had a game 3 so far this season, if I'm not mistaken. Might be going there if ESC continue running this train now as the game draws on. Maybe some potential for catch, for throws, for catches.
Yeah.
I already said catch, but either way, it's a strong performance so far from ESC Ever. Loken starting off the Cloud Drake.
The funniest part to me was they went to tap the Air Dragon, but then they're like, no, this isn't even worth it, even though they could have just shredded it down. So now they just end up taking it. And, you know, it's not the worst thing. It definitely will help when they do get the Elder Dragon. But aside from that, I mean, virtually a useless dragon to have right now.
I want to see a team with like 3 Cloud Drakes just like motor around Summoner's Rift.
Or like Quicksilver for X-Men.
Just surfing everywhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of Quicksilver, or Silver Surfer, I guess that's what it reminded me. Next week, Talia, available to be played.
These aren't 6.10? These games?
These are 6.10.
But Talia's disabled.
Yeah. So you have to be out for, I think, 2 weeks before you actually get to see it in competitive plays. So super excited for that. We actually already had it played in CBLOL with its... I'm trying to remember who played it. I think Bjergsen was asking about it. Was it Goat? I forget who actually played Talia. It was mid lane there. So. We get a chance to see that as the season draws on. I would ask your opinion, but anything could happen at any moment. All right, what do you think about Talia, LS?
Well, Talia, I've only seen her 3 times in solo queue, and every single time I hated everything about life. Not because she was bad, by the way, but because of how much she can just control stuff and how mobile she is. It's absolutely disgusting.
Well, talking about controlling and mobility, a lot of things that describe ESC ever at this point with that Baron buff and 2 Cloud Drakes. Lots of control and mobility there. Top lane, this is the fight that never ends. And not going to be something our observer's going to put up with for too long. Pushing up the mid lane, a nice unbreakable by Totoro, walks forward. Turret goes down. That is the 5th turret of the game. And oh man, bottom lane, Blake, the Crow's coming out. And not just enough. Crow's not powerful enough to pick up that kill, but mid lane, turret pushing, going down, and that is going to be a second base turret being taken. Actually, the first base turret, Swain did not finish off that bottom lane smite onto it, and the turret stays alive down there. Winged able to save it, but Van Temp going hard and not able to pick up anything off of that. Still, a lot of turrets being taken down, 7-2.
Yeah, and now the part is ESC Ever is asking Generic Green Wings, can you do what we do in terms of base defense?
Well, anything you can do, I can do better. Maybe what ESC is trying to say right now. This game is absolutely nuts. We talked about Mortal Reminder and how good that is at cutting all the healing that ESC Ever does. It just doesn't matter. Feels like ESC have just been running over Generic Green Wings in fights, and even though Che has done a godlike job this game of saving everyone that gets caught out, stunned, it's just not enough.
It's just not enough, right? And the problem is the healing isn't really the issue right now for why they can't really handle Generic Green Wings. They should have been able to win the previous fight that led to ESC Ever getting Baron, but Winged got a little overzealous in the team fight. And so the problem right now is really the Kindred and the Ashe.
Oh, man, arrow flashed away from. Nice to force the flash. Might actually still have a catch here. Slows on Wing. He's going to pounce away. Does force out Sivir ult, though, so that will not be able to be used to engage or disengage in the next upcoming fight.
And now all that they really need to do is execute a light 1-3-1. I'm pretty sure that that would actually just make Generic Green Wings cave, because they don't have a proper response right now to a 1-3-1. And with that open inhibitor exposed in mid lane,
and a very low one bottom. Yeah, just going to see that 1-3-1 like you mentioned. Actually starting to look for the push in here. Wing does get slowed out there. A lot of damage from Bless, and that inhibitor will go down. Now a quick rotation up towards the mid. Crazy already working on this inhibitor. Crazy might be looking for an opportunity to go back in if he can't find any vulnerable targets. More damage on the inhibitor, it's gone. And ESC, much like that inhibitor, are out of here.
Yep, and we saw from ESC Ever last week, they are no strangers to waiting for every single thing to just line up perfectly before they try to end the game. So don't expect them to sort of take any sort of weird team fight before Dragon comes up or before another Baron comes up and try to blitz down the enemy team as if we were watching a less patient team play.
Well, both of these teams very, very patient. We saw that in game number 1. ESC Ever totally content to just sit in their base and defend, and Generic Green Wings totally patient enough to go for, I think, 3 Barons, 2 Elder Drakes. And I think that's the phase of the game we are starting to enter. As we hit 40 minutes into game number 2.
And now, again, all that Ever really needs to do is, you see that the Dragon and the Baron are coming up, and the Baron is only coming up 20 seconds after the Dragon, so all you need to really do is make sure that all 3 of the lanes are pulsating at the same exact time, so that after you clear the Dragon, and then you go and take the Baron, you have a perfect push that you can coordinate, and you just sort of cave in on Generic Green Wings.
I mean, the caving is really, you know, the battle, the struggle. Who's going to cave first? Frozen Mallet picked up by Bless. What? I guess that's not bad when you're flipping forward and trying to get those initial slows off. Sometimes you see Mortal Reminder picked up actually by Kindred to stop the enemy team from healing Pearl, but look at Temp, just absolutely no fear there, pushing forward on the bottom half of the map, starting to see that 3-1-1. Now the way is those bottom two inhibitors have been taken down. ESC Ever now flanking in on this upper turret. Do not have a minion wave. They're going to have to wait a little bit, but they do have two waves of super minions pushing down on the bottom and the mid lane turret. Trying to find something.
And you can see from the angle, or how they're approaching the base right here, that they're not, well,
catching out Tempt. He's just going to Zhonya's and heal back to full. A nice Ash arrow actually does catch out Shay, who goes up and goes down. Now Totoro very low, but he's in the back of the fight, actually able to stay alive there. Might want to walk inside that Kindred ult just to make sure. Trade is trying to twist the defense to save his life, but he's actually going to get his Guardian Angel pop. Pilot running backwards, Wing running back, Bond very, very low as well. Tempt will take that turret and actually stay alive there at the end. Azanya's for Wing is not going to matter, and he will go down at the end. And at the end of a 42-minute game, it's ESC Ever to fire back, take a game number 2 victory over the Jin Green Wings.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think ESC Ever was looking for that fight right there, but then the opportunity presented itself with Jin Air actually being out of position for how the fight was going to occur, so they chose to take it. I think they honestly were going to be content with backing off and just taking the Dragon, the Baron, and then finalizing the push.
Man, that final push was incredibly dominant, and maybe the strategy of just tilt them applies to casters. So as long as they can tilt LS enough with their champion picks, ESC Ever has done a remarkable job. And in fact, the most damage in the game,
I don't want to talk about it.
goes to that Swain in the mid lane, the pain train being run there by Tempt once again. The most damage done. I think he's probably used to having that. I just want to see the disgusting statistics after this series is done, because Swain is a monster. So excited to see incredible carry potential delivered once again there by Tempt. ESC Ever backs up against the wall. They take a game number 2. Going to be excited to see whether or not they're going to be able to keep the momentum rolling. We get into game number 3 coming up next.
축제. 바로 가는 거야 이제. 가자. 갤럭시 S7 엣지 S7.
잘 봐, 네 안에 뜨겁게 불타는 열정.
상처에는 터치
베이비 터치해 터치
부드럽게 터치
베이비 터치해 터치
이런 상처 저런 상처
터치해
다 같이 터치
레디 터치 일동제약 자꾸 먹고 싶어
맛있어 죽게 만든 셈이야 하바네로와 청양고추가 더해진 매운맛의 몬스터 BHC 맵스터 매운맛 좀 보시지 말입니다.
배우 박소연이에요. 좌우로 정렬 2588 대리운전 2588 박소연 좌우가 똑같아요 2588
대리운전
좌우로 정렬 2588
정구가 지민아 비야 말 안 먹고 울지 마라. 올리브 치킨에 매운 천연 재료로 만든 마라핫 소스. 세상에 없던 매운맛 마라핫 치킨 1588-9282 BBQ.
네. 아, 이건 알았죠, 이거 방향. 프레임을 이용해서 자, 선에부터 한번 넣어줍니다. 그다음
자, 이게 한 번씩 잡히다 보면 말릴 수밖에 없죠.
자, 완전 말렸죠?
우리
네.
거치면 그만한 데미지를 내줘내고 어느새
네.
두 번째 라운드 턴 본인의
와, 이거
공격상을 찍고 있는 사람으로
네.
이렇게 박스의 열선파를 위기타게 하지만
네.
이런 잡기는 아직도 유효합니다.
자, 이거는 선택권이 워낙 많기
이게
때문에
바로
와, 됐다! 야, 이거는
그리고
대장 나오라는 거죠.
나오라고 외치는 주판. 그리고 썬더클 다시 한번 잡는 주판의 공격. 다시 한번 거리 벌려서 용맹한 결기.
자, 메카니도 한 대만 맞추면 돼요.
자,
이거 안 되나요?
있는데 체력도 없고
영물킬.
준펄이 여기서 영물킬.
처음 챔피언십을 만났을 땐 지혜가 있었죠. 그 다음엔 여러 명이 거쳐갔지만 이 자리를 지킨다는 건 아마도 거부할 수 없는 나만의 매력? 피파 고모가 되기까지 쉽지 않았어요. 끝없는 자기 관리가 중요하죠. 피파 온라인 3 챔피언십 놓치지 않을 거예요. EA 스포츠 피파 온라인 3 아디다스 챔피언십 2016이에요.
근데 경기상으로 보셔야 돼요. 단편적인 모습을 보면 안 되고 결과적으로 봐야 된다는 거예요. 콩코가 지금 얘기하고 있는 건.
자, 계속 들어갑니다. 선직전, 자, 한 대 더 맞으면 그렇게 끝납니다.
계속 받아두면 재미가 없다. 와, 이거 노렸어요.
계속 갑니다.
한번 두 번.
여기까지. 자, 캐논볼 때리고
여기서
마무리. 인생의 풍고 분명히 할 텐데요.
잡기?
자, 시에 있습니다.
자, 잡기 지금은 한번 잡기 낚시를 노려봤는데.
자, 대시 이후에
와! 풍고! 비밀의 개지!
이게 바로 풍고의 동체 시력. 그러면 벌써 게이지를 썼어야 됐는데
그렇죠.
시간이 많이 지나고 있고요.
와.
다시 한번 캐논 스파이크. 주판이 아직까지
이거는 이러면 풍고가 갑니다. 마지막 승리 될 것 같은데요.
풍고가 오늘
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Coca-Cola Zero League of Legends Champions Korea 2016. We are coming back to game number 3, a game 1 win after one of the longest games we've had this season. Win there for the Jin Air Green Wings, and you just take a look at this damage. Yeah, most damage dealt in the game there by Tempt's Swain. What do you think about that, LS?
Nothing.
Okay, no thoughts, but still an impressive performance by ESC Ever. Very dominant on their objective control. You can see that 3 dragons to 1, 10 turrets to 2. I think that's the big stat as they wind up closing out the game very, very solidly. I mean, Ever looked like a totally different team.
No, they did. I mean, they had the scaling composition that did scale, even though we did talk about they would have, I apologize so much, they would have a temporary power strength surge basically around the first core items, or leading right up to the first core items that they could have made use of.
Yep, we're gonna see first blood here as Che went down there, and Che, great performance there, but towards the end of the game, some minor catches there. Bless getting caught out there, might have signaled the turnaround, but great dragon fights, and this is really the one that finally solidifies, ESC ever are, definitely a threat to be reckoned with there. Swain, lots of persistent damage walking forward, and then Loken in the front lines to clean up afterwards. This is like a fight we actually didn't get a chance to watch, where Tempt actually just walks under the turret and almost winds up picking up a kill.
Yeah, and this was the final endgame team fight where Jin Air actually thought that their position was better than it was, and they initiated onto a fight that they couldn't win, and ESC ever realized that, oh, no.
It just keeps getting better and better. An MVP performance from Tempt with a 3-0-5 Swain, 633 DPM, and an almost 90% kill contribution will get him 100 MVP points and make him our second Sonokong IB MVP of the day.
Do anything. The opponents did it for him. Echo was the MVP.
All right, well, he did have a 0 there in the death column, so talk about him not doing anything. He definitely did not die, as Swains, who are that far ahead, are wont to do. So a great job there by Ever to pull things back and take us to one of our first, if not our first, Game 3 of the season. And you would have to kind of think that maybe it would be a team like Ever to give us a Game 3 like this. Great at holding on, great at coming back, and really excited to see what they have to bring out here in game number 3, starting out with picks and bans coming up. Coming up. All right, here we go. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and start things off as our team connects to the pick and ban lobby. What needs to change here? I mean, both teams have had success, if not success on some odd chances.
Jin Air needs to realize that they are significantly better at the early and mid game than ESC Ever, and they need to just pick a team composition that is going to enable them to just accelerate extremely quickly, and that ESC Ever doesn't have a chance to turtle up and make it to that end stage. Because when ESC Ever gets into a point where they're the one shoving you down, you've basically lost. Because not only do you have to somehow find a way to crawl back into the game, you then have to find a way to get into their base, and then that is a game in itself to try to get to the Nexus, at least against ESC Ever.
Now, game 2, and oh my gosh, you're about to see it on your screen right now. The next ban coming out is going to maybe keep Tempt a little bit under wraps. A Swain ban, not towards the top lane Swain, but towards Tempt's mid lane.
So disgusting.
Not only good enough to win a game, good enough to draw a ban in the next game. And we saw Elise banned out in game number 2. Jin Air Greenland's actually banned that out themselves. This time around, a ban against Nidalee as well. So it's like Wing just can't let another player play his champion, apparently. So we're going to see that there. Varus, Bard, both champions that were banned. In fact, I think we might just see a Bard ban as the last one, but no, it is in fact going to be an Elise that should show up on your screen here in just a second. The Bard left open this time around. We'll see if Totoro is as good of a Bard as he would be if he were here. First pick on the rise again.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see if they respond with jungler top laner here, just because Rise probably is not going to be flexed into mid lane, even though that is a possibility.
I mean, we saw Swain flexed in mid lane. I don't know where Swain goes anymore. Apparently he goes wherever he pleases after that game 1 performance. And actually going to grab a mid laner there in Victor.
That's a little bit peculiar, given that they do have a red side, so they could have had a counter pick mid lane, but now the top laner is already picked, so you already know what you could have picked for top lane. So I'm a little interested into why that wasn't just outright an Echo.
Locking on the Freljord combo, gonna lock in an Ashe and a Braum.
Yeah, and now Ashe Braum, that is a devastating combo, and we just saw them use that last game.
Oh man, and now going to be a Sivir repeat performance here. Pilot Sivir in his previous series versus Longzhu, absolutely disgusting amounts of damage. Helped carry his team to 9-0 victory over Longzhou in game 1. And a great champion when it's comboed with things like Karma, also not banned. We've seen both teams have their fair share of move speed on their team comps, and might be one way to do it is they have not locked in their support pick, and leaving top lane for a counter pick makes a lot of sense here. But instead, they're actually just going to grab a strong one. And Echo played very well by Crazy.
Right.
Taking away this game.
I mean, this is the problem. See, now you're picking Echo, but you could have concealed the Victor because with Ryze already being picked, yes, Bless does tend to like AD junglers, so having double AP top and mid isn't out of the realm of possibility. I really don't think that Tempt was going to go for a Victor pick, so I'm not so sure why they did this. And here's that Rek'Sai that we're talking about.
Nice Sivir stats shown there. Not a high prioritization on picking Sivir, but she actually has an 80% win rate, so pretty impressive nonetheless. We talked about the Karma pick that might be comboed with Sivir, but it's actually looking to be taken away here as Totoro.
Is that going to be mid-Rise top Karma, or will it be mid-Karma top Rise?
Top Karma. I haven't seen that too much. Is that like the top lane tanky Karma, or you still
it can be hybrid, or it can be outright tank, yeah. Either one.
All right, glad to see we get a Rek'Sai performance here. He's going to be double teleport with a Rek'Sai. Lots of global shenanigans possible.
Absolutely, and that's going to be extremely interesting because then you can use the Rek'Sai tunnels when the teleports are down to continue a split push assault.
Oh, and Shake. An interesting kind of mind game, maybe. Generic leaving Bard up so that maybe they could force Totoro to pick it as a greedy pick because it's been banned, and then Jinair would get the Karma pick last.
Right.
Possible, but looks like Che might be looking towards a Bard of his own.
Well, the Bard pick definitely would be very good for them because we talked about they want that early and mid-game acceleration, and they want to just keep applying pressure, and they want to keep the heat on.
Well, it's locked in.
And Bard will help them do that.
I feel like you just don't play Bard versus ESC ever because they're so good at playing with Bard. They know everything that champion does and know how to play around it very well. But it's locked in for Jinair Green Wings. There'll be a Lilando's Tempered Fates and then speed up into it to grab some kills or catches if that's what they want to go for. Taking that Kindred away from Bless again, but Bless gets his Rek'Sai. Super excited to see what this guy can make happen with that champion. Of course, another first pick Ryze. Throwbacks to game number 1, where that Ryze really did not hit his big power spike like you were talking about.
Right, and so now, I mean, I don't know if ESC ever is going to be able to make it to the late game this time. I feel like inside of the Ryze lane, that's relatively fine, but Victor versus Karma, I feel like Karma's going to be losing that lane after the first recall. And I think that Winged is going to have his way with Bless's Rek'Sai.
We'll see which team has their way with whom. It is one of our first Game 3s of the season coming up. It's Jinair Green Wings face off against ESC Ever. In just a moment. Both teams a lot on the line here. Only week 2, but still both teams with very strong performances to make it here. We load in, you can see the same lineups, no substitutions. It is ESC Ever taking on the Jinair Green Wings, getting in here to game number 3 coming up. Fans still sticking with it. It's been a long, long day, and if both games 1 and 2 are any harbinger, might be looking at a very long game number 3. Both teams setting up for at least standard initial lanes, so they can make something happen early on here. ESC Ever, Jinair Green Wings, what are both teams looking for as far as win conditions, LS?
So, ESC Ever, they want to, again, when you have that Ryze in your composition, and I'm not totally sure how Karma's going to build, if she's going to go for the rower route But when you have the Rise in the team composition, again, you're looking for that power spike once he completes the Seraph's Embrace, and then you want to start making fights and picks and all that. However, because Rise is such a strong teleporter, and you have a teleporter on Karma, and you have the Rek'Sai tunnels, you can definitely look to make a lot of stuff happen in that interim where Rise is trying to build up between 13 and 25 minutes via the Ash Arrow.
Chilling down there. Look at both teams, fairly similar or expectable Keystone masteries there. I think 2 out of the ordinary, and Shay and Pilot invading for a quick stop on those Krugs versus Bless and Crazy. We'll take a little bit of damage there, and Root Prison first by Crazy, just to make sure he's safe.
Yeah, not so sure about this start. So now this is going to be the story of what happened in Game 1.
Who cried a river and drowned the whole world?
There's no Nami in this game.
Oh, damn it.
But she could have.
Missed opportunity. That is definitely true. Tidal waves, anime-style tiers, definitely possible, but not in this game. So, Jay on the roam, mid lane, tempting a little bit of a rough spot, gets bound against the wall, insane! Finding there, but another Root Prism, forcing that cleanse out, blocking a lot of trouble, but will walk away. Jay teaching a Bard lesson to the Bard gods. ESC Ever giving up first blood.
And everything is off to a bad start right now for Ever. Rise is significantly far behind. Rek'Sai is severely compromised. Victor now with a huge lead in mid lane. And now they can look to completely compromise Rek'Sai's right side jungle and look to take a tower in bottom. And the first dragon is the water dragon, and you can be absolutely certain that they're going to pick that up after completing the tower.
Wow, impressive roam there from Shay. Actually really interesting because it's reminiscent of the way that ESC Ever played in Game 1 versus CJ Entis from our series from Week 1. He actually did the exact same roam. He was able to put a lot of pressure down there early. I think he actually got a kill, if I'm not mistaken. Could be. I just remember the roam was actually really effective. So nice to see the same situation here. Shay just walks up level 1. That's how you get first blood. So continuing to see, like you mentioned, Water or Ocean Drake being the next objective after these early turret takedowns. See how much that early roam mid by Crazy delayed this top lane turret takedown for ESC Ever.
Right, and so now here's that dragon rotation that we're talking about, and this is the problem where I talk about this every single time. Teams do not seem to truly understand this rotation, and they just do it and they mimic it without understanding it. As Albert Einstein says, the point is to understand, not to know. Okay, so now, Jin Air is going to get a gigantic lead, and again, everything going wrong for ESC this game.
Wow, I was a little bit scared there. Shay and Violet do make it out alive, very, very low. That's where Bless walks up for a cool double kill, but he's on the top half of the map getting some counter jungling done, and giving up a turret to Dragon, already a small advantage here for the Jin Air Green.
And that's going to be absolutely huge in mid lane on Victor, because that's going to be very difficult for Karma to keep up with, especially when she was already behind. So now Rek'Sai continuing to just try to farm up on Jin Air Wings jungle. He is going to get shoved out because that is in Jin Air Wings route now. He's going to go from the right-hand side of the map to the west-hand side.
Plus, not going to risk getting caught out there. Gives up the Krugs and backs away. And already we're seeing, like we said, slight advantage there. Nothing too crazy, but speaking of which, Crazy, huge monstrous performance on Echo in game number 1, or game number 2 rather. Let's see if maybe Trace now on that champion can put up the same performance.
So we talk about sometimes open and closed games, and right now this is an open game for Jin Air Green Wings and ESC Ever, and generally that would benefit Rek'Sai and it would benefit Kindred, whereas a closed game would benefit Rek'Sai a little bit more so than Kindred. But the real focal point is that it benefits Bard so much because he has so much more room to breathe, and it enables him to really monkey on to Rek'Sai inside of the jungle and keep tabs on him a lot more efficiency, while simultaneously applying pressure to 3 lanes if he chooses to do so.
Precisely how does one monkey on to someone, OS?
You latch on. Like a monkey jumps on your back.
Is that what monkeys... I've never been... Like, I would never put myself in a position where a monkey would ever, like, be able to do that, though. Under no circumstances is that ever going to be possible. Unless, you know, you're playing in a particularly poignant game of solo queue that habits contain that. But here comes Wing into the mid lane. Gravity Field slows down Temp just a little bit. Parallel Convergence in from Trace, and then it's going to be a long stun on Attempt, who is out of here.
I like how Bless he was like, see ya.
I felt
like I was in a zombie movie for a second, and like his friend just got bit. He just left.
The walking Karma getting taken out there, man. Karma feeling those faker feels when you put up a lot of big strong performances. The enemy team is like, no, you are not having a good game this time around. Lots of pressure there. 2-0, both picking up kills onto that ESC mid laner.
Yeah, and now Victor, if there is a time for Victor to go into that second upgraded Hexed Core and the Ionian boots to really start running around the map and basically asserting dominance everywhere, now is going to be the game to do it. You also see Kindred going for the green Sightstone, or the Sightstone jungle item. And I think this is because, look at 2 items. This is almost unheard of in patch 6.10. And to see it happening at the professional level is just not acceptable.
All right, well, talking about 2 items, the power spike.
Levels.
2 levels. Okay, I was like, wait, which 2 items? But yeah, 2 levels, that's a pretty crazy advantage. So definitely a small thing to notice. Crazy just kind of getting shut out.
So this is basically what I was talking about. Now, with Jin Air Green Wings, what they really want to do right now is they need to find a way to basically crack Karma out of mid lane, where they can look to sort of attack the summoner spells of ESC, and they need to keep applying pressure because they have a lot of momentum right now, and Dragon is going to be coming up in a few minutes, and they do need to keep that entertained. So all you really need to do as Jin Air Green Wings is you need to use Bard and Wing to keep Rek'Sai really starving. You need to bleed him out of gold. And if you can do that, your neutral objective control will be significantly superior, and then you can just power over them around 20 minutes.
And they're going to give Tempt blue buff. You can see Trace is waiting for this Karma to come back. He is only level 5, so will not have that Chrono Break available. So his dives are not going to be quite as crazy. Blue buff looking super juicy, and here comes Wing. Flipping his way into the individual. Actually does pop that Rek'Sai tunnel, and if you're a really good Rek'Sai, you can actually watch the map and keep an eye on your tunnels and where they are and aren't.
Looks like Wing just going to get this red buff, and Echo trying to set up for something.
What is Bless up to? He's up to the top half of the map. Shay running around. Ash not level 6, so Loken not able to catch anybody out there. Wing just on a mission. Behind enemy lines, crazy. Oh man, will actually be slowed out there. Trying to micro around this one. Does flash underneath that turret. Flash it away, but gets sniped down. And a poignant level 6 Trace allows him to take the turret and get right back out of there.
And rather than recalling right here, I think it would be a lot better for Kindred to actually stick around. So rather than enabling Rise to walk back to the bottom tier 2 tower, you just sort of force him to teleport. And then if that's the case, you're not in a rush to go anywhere, because you know that your next route is basically going to be to protect topside if required. Otherwise, it's going to be East-centric River into Dragon control.
Yep, the next dragon spawning is Mountain Break. I didn't spot that one out when it was taken last time. We saw an early takedown on that Ocean Drake for Jin Air. But man, the strong gets stronger. 2K lead for them at just under 10 minutes. So Winged walking back to that area. Man, Jin Air, they are putting up a fearsome performance. It is a Cloud Drake.
Oh, it's a Swain Drake. Oh man.
So getting that Drake will win them the game? We'll get them MVP. We'll keep them from dying ever.
It'll get them MVP.
All right. Well, hey, you heard it here first. Nice to see you won over to the Swain side.
Never.
Game 2s like that'll do it for you, man. Yeah, it's a little bit. I'm still like just amazed that second game happened. I want to go back and watch it just because it's so enjoyable. Watching the power fantasy for Swain is pretty cool. Oh, not actually scouted out. They are not seen by that Skull Crab. They're sneaking through the enemy jungle. They are scouted out by that ward. They're a double binding. That Cosmic binding Che. He's put on a clinic there. This is how you play Bard. And I said maybe ESC would know how to play against it because they played with it so much, but they are continuing to run into his foul Bard-like clutches.
Yeah, and Victor, I would really like to just see complete his Ionian boots before doing anything else, so that he's able to keep running around with his teammates. And you see that the problem ESC Ever's having is they're constantly playing catch-up. So this is the thing that I talked about in Champion Select is Jin Air Green Wings is really just applying a lot of a pressure, and you can see they have almost a 3K gold lead at 10 minutes. This is absolutely enormous.
It certainly is. Do you think this is a position where ESC Ever can just chill out and not fight, maybe win their way back into it? I don't know about scaling, and certainly don't know about contesting this Cloud Drake down below half HP, and no one's really going to contest that. Second dragon of the game taken by the Jin Air Green Wings relatively effortlessly on both of them.
Yeah, and the next dragon that will be spawning is going to be the Mountain Drake, so that'll definitely aid them in raising towers if ESC Ever has any left by the time that one spawns. But I think everything that they're doing right now is relatively fine. However, I don't like the fact that Pilot and Che are in bot lane. Honestly, they should be mid lane, and they should have played around Victor's blue buff to shove Karma out of the lane and then just get that tower. And even if you don't get the tower, it enables bot lane to shove back into you, and thus you can initiate a freeze, thus starving Loken and attacking Bless as well. And so macro errors coming out of Jin Air Green Wings.
Party in the mid lane again. Tempt is always invited. He's going to get lasered out there. A nice binding latches into Totoro with a big Chaos Storm. Put down a little bit of damage, which is actually not all that damaging at all. I don't think he's upgraded his Hex score beyond that first upgrade, so to get that to rank 3 for it to really chase people down.
And now if they have any sort of a timing for Herald, they could have done it if they would have just kept Sivir and Bard in mid lane just now. Definitely could have opened up the Herald timing with Echo. So again, another missed opportunity by Jin Air Green Wings because nothing else is happening right now. And so now you can see that they really messed up their bot lane. And these are things that, this is the most complex part of League, that pro teams, even themselves, really struggle to understand and manipulate so that they can use it to their favor during games.
Rift Herald, talked about how important that was in game number 1. Game 2, Trace was already so far behind it didn't matter, but this time around, Bless looking to get in there. Where's the Smite Steal? Not able to get in range in time, and Trace will pick up that buff. For the next 20 minutes, I remember hearing about the Rift Herald changes, and I was like, wait, so he just wins for 20 minutes? But it doesn't apply when there are lots of champions around you, so yeah, I guess there are some mitigating factors. Still very, very impactful. Trace doing a very good job, 69 CS to 54.
There is a CS difference in almost every single lane, although 80 carries are relatively close. And now the game, now is the point in the game where they're going to take a small breather until Echo and Sivir complete their first core items, and then they're going to look to sort of wake up. So the problem is they continue to keep making poor rotations in the bot lane for Jin Air Green Wings. They easily could have just wrapped a noose around ESC Ever's neck if they were properly using rotations at the mid lane to also attack Bless's east side jungle, and then force ESC Ever to hand them back away from bot lane, thus forcing Loken and Totoro out of the jungle and out of a lock.
So forcing them out, I mean, they're pretty entrenched in there right now. Jay doing a lot of damage, clearing wards, damaging the vision. Not actually really damage, but might get a little caught out here. Nope, not going to go for it. Chilling out, waiting to see what all this vision is going to be used for. Most likely pushing down that second tier turret in the bottom lane, where Loken is currently entrenched. Jay, all about that jungle roam.
The problem is with, you just keep shoving this bottom wave back into them, and it's a lot like you're a top laner, like a Mordekaiser or a Swain or something, right? And you just keep shoving a CS wave into a Nasus, and that's what they want. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't make any sense.
Great way to get in there. Whoa, I'm not sure who got the gold from that nice smite there on the Gromp. Temp will lock down. No lockdown there on Blanc. He will speed. He's going to speed himself away. He will get out of there. Can't believe I just quoted a Gungan. It's a new low. New all-time low. Much like a very good Australian band.
Yeah. Now, if most teams were in this situation that ESC Ever's in right now, I would be not so optimistic of their chances to win, but it is Ever, so I don't feel like they're actually too far out of the out of the game, given their team fighting ability.
Definitely not out. I mean, it's ESC ever. We all watched that game number one. You guys are watching. You didn't watch that game number one. Rewind it. Watch on YouTube on Esports TV. Just scroll it back to that game one. Get a highlight reel because that was a defense for the ages. ESC ever held on for what seemed like forever. And definitely possible here in game number 3. Backs up against the wall is a place ESC ever are totally comfortable with. They can just chill out because it doesn't seem like Jin Air Green Wings are really pressing too many advantages.
Right, and that's what I was talking about, is they continue to make the same mistake. And basically, in bot lane right now, this is the definition of insanity. Okay, which if you're not familiar with that, it is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And it's like Pilot and Shay just keep shoving the minion wave in, they're like, huh, I wonder why nothing's happening.
Oh wait, and there's an Ashe that just kills it as quickly as it gets shoved into her.
Right, and they're just losing time efficiency. So, very lackluster rotational play, and they're not really doing anything. And I think it speaks to their knowledge of how to really twist and turn the game at this point.
2 different kinds of crimes of commission and omission. So sometimes it's bad when you do stuff, sometimes it's bad when you don't take advantage of opportunities that you have. And Jin Air just shove that wave in over and over again. It's like, wait a second, I swear there was a minion wave down bottom. Nope, not anymore. Same situation in the mid lane. Temp's just wave clearing after getting ganked so aggressively early on. See if Wing is going to lock this one down. Now there has been a Ocean Drake, a Cloud Drake, and now a Mountain Drake. So no Inferno Drakes this game. No extra damage boost, but going to help on the objective control.
Inferno is the... Oh, unfortunately, the camera decides that Ashe CSing is...
No, we've already seen all 3 kinds of dragons.
4. There's 4.
Yeah, but only 3 can ever spawn per game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the patch note is actually called 4 is a crowd.
Huh.
So shout outs to Hitstreak or whoever wrote that one. But only 3 Drakes per game.
So you can't summon Captain Planet?
Damn. Well, that would have to be a Heart Dragon, and he would be like even more useless than the Air Drake.
Oh. Are you saying Elder Dragon doesn't have a heart? He's purple.
Probably. Do dragons have... I guess dragons do have hearts. But I never really thought about what they would be made of. No, you really just cannot summon Captain Planet with the dragons. It's, you're just missing out on that element. I remember like thinking to myself as a young child watching, an impressionable audience watching Captain Planet, like, how is heart an element? Like, do you just feel so bad for this kid? You just have to make him think that heart is an element. Like
he
secretly,
to love himself
secretly, you could summon Captain Planet with only 4 elements, and then they just add that in for fun. It's not really necessary. Yeah. That's the secret at the end of the show. If you watch all the way down there, they reveal that he really did nothing the entire time. Speaking of doing nothing the entire time, the Jin Air Green Wings might not have been picking up kills, but they have been grabbing a lot of objectives. 3 dragons, sealing away objectives, continuing to push in these waves. But what is that really accomplishing here? I don't feel a lot. This is where you
Jin Air Green Wings gameplay this game is very representative of the Saw movie series. They started off really hot in 1, 2, and 3, and then it just sort of dies down.
I thought you were going to say watching it's like torture, but it's not quite that bad. We're 20 minutes in. There's only been 3 kills, so a beautiful game from a strategic perspective, if you want to look at it that way.
It is indeed, and I mean, one thing that people have to remember is even if this game is looking very slow and there's not a lot of stuff happening, these are 2 of the best teams in Korea.
Absolutely, and it feels weird to say that about a brand new LCK team in their 2nd week of the season, but ESC has illustrated a lot of very strong strengths, so definitely excited to hear a little bit of poke damage being put down by Tempt, and game draws on as games are wanted to do. No stun there, Che. You can't get those magic latches. And the waves continue. This game is, where minions rights activists get really, really annoyed, because it's like both teams don't really care about anything. They're just killing as many minions as possible. Magical Journey. Che didn't want to walk all the way.
Well, I'm beginning to feel like I'm watching low-level solo queue here, where players don't know what to do with their advantages, and I just don't know how to feel about that.
Game 1 kind of felt like that, with ESC ever just walking in and face checking over and over again. But both teams playing this very, very carefully.
Well, I will say that ESC Ever's playstyle is the one that I do like the most. I just wish that they could improve their early and mid game so that those two would be threats. But I think having an insurance policy that they basically say, hey, okay, you can beat us up as much as you want in the early game, but the longer this goes on, the more of a chance you are going to lose.
I mean, that's exactly what we saw in Game 1. That got so... Esports Connected Ever were so far behind, and they almost wound up turning it back around. Che getting stunned there, knocked up a great save there by Wings Kindred. Was a little bit slow to retreat, a nice tempered fade, but it doesn't allow any kills to come out there. A good guy Winged saving Che from getting busted by that arrow.
Yeah, and that team fight would have been a completely different story if Bard didn't actually get stunned there, because the ultimate would have came out a lot sooner, and that would have taken everything.
Kind of interesting to see both teams sort of pressuring forward, backwards, all around. Jin Air definitely winning out on most of these trades. 3 dragons, 3 turrets, and not a whole lot standing in their way. ESC Ever, they're sort of like in the wet noodle of this game. They're just like, oh, you want to push waves into our turret, we're going to kill them. To be fair, that's a smart strategy when you are behind, you don't want to fight, and you do want to get minion kills. So would you say that's playing it correctly from ESC Ever's standpoint?
Yeah, at this point in the time, I mean, fights like that and trades like that just occurred in mid, even if it seemed a little bit bad considering ESC Ever lost to Tier 1 mid tower, it doesn't really matter because of how they team fight. Now, if this was a different team, this would be a different story, but that's not the case here.
Certainly is not. Oh, Winged. Oh my gosh, he might have actually just had his life saved there by the Krug. He's going to go down, walking into Bless, and Loken, the ward over the wall, and a melee range arrow misses. Winged with a predicted flash. Now Loken, that's what happens when you miss your arrows, man. Gotta hit him, doesn't, and winds up going down.
Someone needs to get ESC Ever a ruler for those arrows.
Oh my gosh. I'm just hoping that, you know, people are watching that didn't see the Samsung series from yesterday and just won't get your joke. I feel like they're no slow, no stun there. Crazy does get out just in the nick of time. Bless there to help save this turret, and wow, mid lane Temp getting absolutely murdered. 2v1, totally unfair. Temp living Struggle's life. Is the mayor of Struggle Town. He's bought 2 hotels on Struggle Place.
Yeah, and as I was saying, basically...
Oh, flash? Okay, Crazy was not getting locked up there. Pilot, spell shield, nothing, and walks away successfully. No arrow to catch them out, and actually, whoa, there is an Ash arrow just off cooldown. Winged is in the bottom. He's winning the game by himself. He's like, hey guys, I'm good at taking dragons. Gonna go for it again, and now the 4th dragon of the game. Going down with another Mountain Drake coming up. So this could be 3 Mountain Drakes in a row for Jin Air Green Wings.
Oh, man. That is not going to be good. They're going to raise towers so fast. Also, unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to get a replay of that top lane, but the Bard ultimate was up, so I think they could have done certain things to make sure that they could have secured that tower, but it doesn't seem like they chose to.
Seeing the stats there on Elemental Dragons, 20% extra damage to objectives. That's fairly significant. So it's going to be 30% if they do get that 3rd Mountain Drake. And I mean, if things keep going the way that they've been going, we certainly will see that. I don't think we've ever seen 5 dragons be taken in a game before.
Jin Air Green Wings is praying for season, or well, just a few patches ago when right now they would have the 5th dragon coming up.
Oh yeah, that's true. You could have 5 dragons like pre-30 minutes.
Yeah, that'd
be ridiculous.
Normally would only be seen by Nunu.
Yeah, you can't actually have 5 dragons by 30 minutes. Math's a little off there, but Trace versus Crazy. Trace getting kind of busted up, even with that last remaining seconds of his Rift Herald about to expire.
And now, at this point in the game, all that Jin Air Green Wings really needs to do, they can either play an insurance game with the dragons and just wait for ESC Ever to, you know, come out of their base, and then they can just try to look to make a pick with the Bard ultimate and some sort of shenanigans with Bard. Or they can go for Baron attempts, and they can force ESC Ever to come to them and then take the fight. And if Jin Air Green Wings has the, you know, the high ground, so to speak, of the river, then ESC is going to have a very difficult time breaking into Janair.
I mean, high ground is really the only advantage you need, especially if you're fighting Jedi.
Yeah, just ask Anakin.
I was about to say Jedis, but I would have like tilted half our viewer base. It's like saying you're hunting deers.
Yeah.
Please no. All right, well, hunting Baron buffs. How do we get them? We get them by clearing out the ward coverage, and Shay has done a great job at doing just that. No vision around that area, and I guess Bless does. Oh, he might stole it right as I say it. He's gonna get the steal on that Scuttle Crab, and that will, for all intents and purposes, push Janair away from the Baron buff.
Looks like there's a skirmish happening in bot lane, but we're not seeing what was happening. Oh, this is so cute.
Oh my gosh, they can't. Oh no, he threw the boomerang in range of the Scuttle Crab. They can see it now, and there's the hawk shot to confirm. Pilot forced the ult away from their that feel when your sneaky Baron gets revealed by your Sivir throwing a boomerang. I mean, it was kind of suspicious anyway, but we are seeing this altercation. Crazy versus Trace. Not gonna see the latch. There on the parallel convergence. This is where top laners fighting actually gets kind of fun because they're like.
This shouldn't go top lane. Sivir, oh, Pilot and Shay, what are you doing? Just don't go.
Okay, why would going top lane be a bad idea?
Because if they don't go to top lane, then what's going to happen is it's going to become virtually a dead lane. And Janair Green Wings is so far ahead right now in gold, they don't need to use it as a reserve bank. Right? There's no need to allocate any sort of gold to any carry at that point because you're already too far ahead. And yes, you could use the argument, get further ahead, but there's no point. If you make it so top lane is completely dead, then ESC only has 2 other lanes that they can make use of, or they're forced to fight you. So why wouldn't you do that?
That's a great question, LS. By making it a dead lane, you just mean freezing it in the middle of nowhere so it doesn't do anything.
Right.
Right, so just leaving it alone, sticking it up there, and basically playing a 2-lane game down here, what Janair Green Wings have opted to do. Crazy, but a little bit of damage, and neither top laner really making a whole lot of headway there. Turns it right back around. Trace, though, wow, that Z-Drive Resonance, it's a fairly good passive. Percent health damage, 80% move speed buff at max rank. Sounds good.
Pretty good, Echo. Fair champion.
Yeah, great choice there by Trace. Decision-making process.
Coming out. Now the next dragon is coming up too, and they could just look to pick that up. And
Loken pushing that lane out, but he is in a very vulnerable spot. You have Chay's ult. The Tempered Fate is available. Could snipe him out. Well, not gonna go for that. Janair just controlling this area around Baron. It's like the control around the area is the Baron because they're putting so much time, effort, bodies into just making sure that they have that at all times.
Janair really at this point in the time, they need to just do gambits. They need to acknowledge that their tier 2 top tower is a pawn, their tier 1 mid tower, their tier 2 mid tower, it's all pawns right now. And all that you need to do is sacrifice it for superior position across the map. And the fact that they're not acknowledging that and they're not doing it is really just something that it's relatively painful to watch.
Winged in here, forcing a tunnel back. Gonna limit some tunnel coverage in the jungle, clear out wards, and Loken thinking about it, but another miss! Loken, okay, he did hit blank, but nobody cares about that. Man, I don't know how close do you have to get for Loken to hit an arrow?
Do you mean he is shooting blanks?
Oh my god. He literally did hit blank. There's a nice 2-man Tempered Fate. Nice flashes out, though, will secure Loken a safety. A very low turret here is going to go down. Not going to actually stop them, and ESC ever getting dominated. They lose their dual lane. They might lose even more, but it looks like Janair Greenwing content to not force the issue.
Yeah, and they're certainly just going to be content with backing up and getting Baron. They're going to take that magical journey. Pilot says, actually, I don't take your Pilot was a little mad right there that he couldn't be the pilot of that.
Oh man, here's the hero move. Bless, you know you want. No, just kidding. He knows he does not want to. Tempting a little bit of an aggressively positioned place, but he's got his move speed to get out of there. And I mean, 0-7 score here. Janair Green Wings are pretty good at games like this. Reminds me a lot of their series versus Longzhu. Just a shutout. No weaknesses and lots of strength to find those kills.
This certainly reminds me of Game 1, though, and that's why I don't think it's over yet, even though I would love to say that it is over. ESC Ever does just seem to pull rabbits out of hats.
And hey, you were talking about dragons earlier, and now dragon number 5 about to be done. No burn on that buff, but 3 mountain drakes, and now 30% bonus damage to objectives. Alright, speaking of objectives, let's walk through this fight. Totoro just gets caught.
Totoro gets caught, Loken, you know, shooting blanks, and just nothing was really turning out so well for them here. And as soon as that happens, they're going to take the tower, no HP left, Loken goes down, and this is just a guaranteed Baron every single time. And you have to acknowledge that even if you get that fight, even if you hit the arrow onto Kindred, you can't kill her quick enough for her not to cast her ultimate. So a fight's always going to break out. So the ultimate in itself is questionable.
Oh my god, look at that damage onto Crazy! It is Crazy, and now, winged in a little bit of a rough spot. Does the ult? Yes! But another miss on that enchanted crystal arrow. Must not be a very good enchantment this game, because it is has not worked out there for Loken. He lives by the arrow, and well, this game he's died by it a couple of different times.
Well, I really don't know what to say about Loken's enchanted crystal arrows this game. They're not on point.
Oh, another tempered fate catches too. It's Loken, it's Totoro, and there's another binding actually blocked, so Loken will stay alive there. No, he walked back into it! That's going to be a dead 80 carry for ESC Ever. Generic Green Wings break the base, and will they look for any more? They will take down at least 1 inhibitor, looking for 2 and 3, and they will grab all 3 inhibitors and possibly even the game. Loken is dead for 30 more seconds. Can ESC Ever hang on? They lose one next to Sir. They're going to lose another one. This is their last-ditch effort, and it's not going to be good enough. The Generic Green Wings take an 8-0 victory over ESC Ever.
If this was solo queue right now, I'm pretty sure Ash would be getting 4x'd.
I mean, to be fair, strong performances by Tempt in games 1 and 2, and just not as able to succeed in game 3. Got ganked twice very aggressively early, was never able to put his carry pants on, and Loken had his chances, he just never fulfilled, never lived up to it. And you see very relieved faces in the Generic Green Wings booth. They are your victors here with a 2-1 victory over Esports Connected Ever. So commendable victory in the end, and the better team won tonight. It's still a very tenacious, very skilled performance by ESC Ever.
And ESC Ever, as soon as they can fix their early and mid-game problems and fix themselves from picking Ashe, apparently, at least not until Loken finds his keys, so that he can land those arrows.
He's out there, man. He's looking. And he's going to keep watching, and maybe a player that we will see return for ESC Ever in the future. Some dejected looks there in the ESC Ever booth, but I don't think too many things to regret over the course of that series. Game 3, maybe the most challenging of all 3 games, but a lot to learn from here.
For sure, and they'll bounce back. I'm not too worried about that. They are a team with a huge amount of potential, even though they're already actually so good at the later stages of the game, which, truthfully, is the hardest part of the game to master. So you have to give credit there. Generic Green Wings, though, with an absolutely dominating third game performance, and they finally found, the way to bust open ESC Ever. So let's see if SKT can stand on their way this season.
Yep, slow and steady wins the race, and certainly won it there for the Generic Green Wings. That is going to do it for our second day of broadcasting and our second week. But you guys don't want to go anywhere. Make sure to come back tomorrow, where we will have our third and our last day of the broadcast here at SPOTV. So more LCK coming your way every day, almost every day, not Sunday, but got a lot of League of Legends here in Korea. One of the best regions in the world, and you guys get to watch it here tonight. You got to watch it at the hands of ESC Ever and the Generic Green Wings Esports Club. Any final thoughts about the games here tonight, LS?
No, not too much. I just think that some of the picks were a little bit questionable, but I don't think any game was really lost to picks except for the Kazakhs one. But there was things that could have been changed so that it didn't have to turn out that way.
pulling my microphone away from the crowd.
Yeah.
To save
Shay
all
getting the
headphones.
MVP. I think that is entirely deserved. His roam early, set up the snowball in mid lane. His Bard ultimates were on point. Some of the cosmic bindings at certain points basically took away Ever's ability to come back into the game if they wanted to have a chance. So I think that MVP is definitely deserved.
Yeah, he is going to get his first MVP. So we've got MVPs for Winged, Blank, and now I think Pilot and Shay just picked up their MVPs tonight. So nice to see spreading those around. Your Sona Kong IB MVP of that game is Shay. Very well deserved there. So Generic Green Wings do pick up a 2-1 victory, in part due to Shay's Bard performance. And nice to see 2 bans on the Bard to keep it away from Ever. And then Generic Green Wings saying, hey man, we can play that champion too.
Yep.
So there we go. That is going to do it for tonight's games. I really enjoyed this series. One of our first 3-game series of the night, or of the season. And maybe a few more of those coming out here in the future. So actually just really excited. And that is going to do it for tonight's broadcast. Coming up,
ESC를 상대로 2대1로 승리를 가져갔습니다. 오늘의 MVP 선수들 함께 만나보시죠.
See the result there on your screen. A 2-1 victory for the Generic
네,
Wings.
파일럿 선수와 최희 선수입니다. 축하드립니다. 네, 파일럿 선수 먼저 승리 축하드립니다. 연승이에요. 먼저 1세트 너무 기진맥진한 상태라 1세트 벌써 다 잊어버리신 건 아니죠?
1세트 약간은 생각나는데 게임이 너무
They were saying that in the
길어가지고
first
다는
set,
생각
was
못할 것
there any
같아요.
problems? And
상대
it wasn't.
ESC가 바루스를
They didn't think
기반으로 한
that
캐리력이
they
상당히
played too
높은
poorly.
챔프기를 선택했어요.
네.
좀 참신한 픽이었어서 당황했을 것 같은데 어떠셨나요?
They took it really
상대는
slow.
후반에 좋은 조합을
and so the game
가져왔고
was
저희는
quite long.
초반에 이득 보는 조합을 가져갔는데 초반에 저희가 좀 잘 풀어나가서 게임을 오브젝트를 중심으로 운영을 해가지고 게임이 좀 쉽게 초반에 풀렸던 것 같아요.
아무래도 캐리력이 강한
The
대신에
game went really well in the early game, but
빈틈을 좀
the
잘
objective
활용하셨던 것
control
같아요.
was
경기 내내 바텀 듀오
pretty
갱킹이
difficult towards the
굉장히
later stages of the game.
아, 네.
그런 빈틈을 공략하신 건가요?
네, 계속 상대 팀이 올 부분에 올 곳에서 브라움이랑 저랑 기다렸었어요.
시야 장악이 굉장히 꼼꼼하더라고요.
네, 기다렸었는데 그 기다릴 때마다
In the other
상대분들이
game, they basically just
와주셔가지고
waited to make
게임이 좀
picks.
쉽게 풀리지 않았나 생각해요.
억제기까지
And
빠르게
basically, they
제거를
felt
하면서
really lucky that
용하고 바로는
the opponents kept
가져온
walking
운영은
into the
좋았는데
brushes blind,
아무래도
and they were able
결정적인
to
한
successfully
방이
make
좀 부족했던 게
picks.
경기가 길어졌던
And
원인이
I think
아니었나
that's
싶어요.
why a lot
강력한
happened there.
이니시의 부재가 좀 답답하게 느껴지진 않으셨나요?
아, 상당히 많이 답답했고 강력한 이니시가
지금
없어서
미칠 뻔했다고 하시는 것 같은데. 네.
그래서 제가 그냥 바루스가 앞에 나오잖아요, 포킹을 하려고. 그래서 제가
We're talking about Varus's poking and how it was pretty painful.
스킬 때문에 억제기를 하나 까는 식으로 게임을 했는데 그게 상황마다 좀 잘 들어가면서 쉽게 풀렸던 것 같아요.
네, 오늘 파일럿 선수의 활약 굉장했습니다. 다시 한번 승리 축하드립니다.
네, 감사합니다.
네, 마지막 세트 MVP 최희 선수까지 만나보겠습니다. 연승 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
ESC에버가 넥슨 아리나에서 전승을 이어가고
Chase,
있었어요.
sorry.
그 전승을 진에어 그리닝스가 끊게 됐는데 소감이 어떠신가요?
일단 뭐 전승 그런 거 딱히 신경 안 쓰고 저희가 잘하면 이길 수 있다고 생각하기 때문에 이 경기 살짝 아쉽긴 한데 이겨서 기분은 좋네요.
3세트 픽밴이 약간 블레스 선수를 좀 견제한 뱀픽이었다
Apparently,
하는
ESC
생각이
Ever won
들었어요.
all of their
실제로
games
팀
at the
내에서
Nexon
블레스
Arena,
선수 조금
but
의식하는
they said
경향이
that today they
있었나요?
were able to bring defeat to
근데
ESC Ever.
오늘은 사실 블레스
So they
선수를
feel good about that.
의식하기보다는 다들의 밴에서 키 선수 약간 의식했는데 안 나오셨더라고요. 네. 그래서 딱히 밴은 의식하진 않았던 것 같아요.
그래서 키 선수의 바드를 오늘 최희 선수가 쓴 거군요. 초반에 정글 플레이 굉장히 인상 깊었는데.
네, 원래 바드가 이게 초반에 돌아다니기 쉽고 좀 세가지고 초반에 이득을 보면은 좀 좋은 챔프거든요. 네, 그래서
Saying
좀 많이
that
돌아다녔던
Bard
것
is a
같고
really good champ.
네, 오늘 바드 연습 거의 안 했거든요. 밴 위주로 해가지고.
네.
근데 좋게
Saying we
나와서
expected Bard to get banned, but there was a lot of
느리다라는
practice for
진에어의 어떻게
Bard.
보면 단점을 정석을 놓지 않는 단단함으로 좀 승화시켜 가고 있는 것 같습니다. 또 꾸준히 응원해주시는 팬분들께도 한 말씀 해주시죠.
네. 일단 저희가 맨날 1라운드
asking for any
때는
final
출발이
comments to the
좋은데 이 기세 좀 타고 이번에는 좀 높은 곳까지 가고 싶네요. 네.
The first is
팬
that
여러분들
we
항상 응원해주신
performed
거
okay, but we're on a winning spree right now.
이번에는 2라운드 때도 잘해서
And we want to keep
가겠습니다.
performing well for our fans that are
네, 다시
always
한번
supporting
승리
us. So
축하드립니다.
thanks so much for all of that.
and show good games.
네, 그럼 오늘
show
경기
good
결과
games. Most
반영한
important thing.
순위부터 확인해 보겠습니다. 1위는 삼성 갤럭시가
We're
차지하고
going to have our final
있고요.
rankings here come up on your screen. You see the generic Green Wings up there. Didn't pick up a 2-1 victory here, so they're just 1 point behind Samsung Galaxy up in the front with +4. SK Telecom
But this
last
week
place.
will mark the arrival of the reigning champions, SKT.
And we will get a chance to see them a little bit later on in the week. You can see KT versus Rox there on the 8th. Rox versus SKT on the 6th. That is going to be a sick series.
Yep.
And that's going to do it for us tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the games here this evening. 3 games of yelling in a row has absolutely toasted my vocal cords, so we can add some extra kills in there for resting in peace there. But we will see you back here again tomorrow for even more League of Legends at the Nexon Arena.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm hoping tomorrow's games are really exciting. MVP tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to see MVP. They are currently doing they're doing very well. They haven't necessarily turned that success into game wins yet, but still not as poorly as people maybe projected. There we go. Predicted. Also a word I could have gone with.
The
there,
old
but,
org I lived with. That's them. So I'll have some stories to say tomorrow.
Oh man! All right, so we'll have story time with LS coming up next week, or next broadcast tomorrow. So don't miss it. We'll be right back here at the Nexon Arena for even more League of Legends. So we want to see you guys back here once again. We do love you guys, and we thank you for tuning in to tonight's broadcast of the 2016 LCK Summer, presented by Coke Zero. Actually, just had a Coke Zero not moments earlier. Now everybody's just going to spam sell out. So yeah, it was actually pretty great. You guys are great too, and we do want to thank you all for watching. Reminder once again to come back here for tomorrow's games. Thanks for watching these series tonight. Let us know what you have to say about these teams, about the games. We look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.